Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. The program will start shortly. Thank you.
In 2019, we took one step towards the future.
The future of fashion starts here today.
And today, we are living in this future. The fashion industry moves almost $3 trillion per year. Through design innovation and new business models, fashion entrepreneurs all over the world push the fashion industry forward. At the same time, it is also responsible for 8% of carbon dioxide emissions, second only to the oil sector. How can we revolutionize this industry to make it more sustainable? The fashion industry, more than ever, needs to take urgent action for our environment. We have to innovate because we know the fashion industry has an enormous impact on our planet. Entrepreneurs, designers, and leaders in this industry use creativity as a tool. After all, fashion is innovative by nature, generating trends, technology, and new behaviors. The influence that the industry exerts on culture must encourage diversity, continuing to create spaces for creativity and self-expression. We have achieved many victories, but there is still a long way to go. The fashion industry needs to be globally united. We must come together to create the future we want for generations to come. The time is now for a future that is sustainable, diverse, innovative, and entrepreneurial. The future is now. Welcome to Fashion Futures.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Her Highness Princess Noura bint Faisal Al Saud.
Okay, just one for now.
أصحاب السمو والمعالي
Your Excellencies, Your Highnesses, Your Royal Highnesses, Your Excellencies, dear attendees, welcome in this day in which we celebrate together the future of fashion, the future of our industry that is keeping developing, evolving, and going forward. This event is one of the aspects of support that never stopped from our wise leaders, and with the direction and the continuous follow-up from His Royal Highness Prince Badr bin Abdullah bin Farhan Al Saud, the Minister of Culture and the Chair of the Board of Directors of the Fashion Committee. The Fashion Commission, since its establishment, worked on developing this sector to achieve its deserved rank, giving, or as described as an industry of a very important economic impact and a cultural value that is effective in enhancing and promoting our national identity. The Commission, through its programs and different initiatives, tried to enable and empower this industry in the kingdom and encourage national talents and efficiencies and competencies to develop the fashion industry to its deserved rank for the kingdom. In order to achieve that, we prepared and developed the legislative rules and regulations and developed them in order to serve designers and all people working in the fashion industry in order to empower and enable them to go forward towards excellence and success. Allow me to speak in English to welcome our guests from all the world.
Welcome, everybody. Bienvenue tout le monde. I'll now transition into English and then into French and Japanese if we have time. It feels great to be here in Riyadh with all of you and with our friends in Paris and New York. It feels so great to start by thanking you all for coming here to Fashion Futures. For all of you that have traveled all the way to be with us in person, welcome to Saudi Arabia. The entire Fashion Commission is truly honored to have so much industry talent with us. Fashion Futures is a true reflection of what the Commission is here to do. It is to enable and create a platform for the Saudi fashion sector and our homegrown talent to connect, but also to enable conversations and knowledge sharing across fashion communities on where the industry is heading, and the part we will all need to play in for its future. Over the next day and a half, I hope you will be truly inspired by what you see and hear. It is a very special time for the creative and cultural industries in Saudi Arabia. As we gather here today, other events are underway across the kingdom that illustrate the vibrancy of the sector and efforts in line of Vision 2030 to diversify not just our economy, but our creative offering to the world. And I hope you can feel the energy both inside this auditorium and across the country. One of the most rewarding projects for the Fashion Commission has been the Saudi 100 brand program. When we launched, it was amazing to see that we received over 1,400 applications. It will be a moment I will treasure forever, a moment where the applications showed the depth of their craft and pursuing their creative dreams. Others were fresh startups with bold and innovative approaches, incorporating the latest technologies and trends, all of whom are here with us today. We have partnered with friends around the country and around the world to launch Elevate. This program aims to support the Saudi women who aspire to claim leadership positions across the fashion sector. I am so humbled to be working in the midst of our fashion talent. And I'm glad that all of you will get to see what I'm privileged to see every day. I would also like to thank the team behind this amazing effort. All of what we spoke about would not have been possible without their passion, commitment, and dedication. The future of fashion is now.
Thank you, Your Highness Princess Noura bint Faisal Al Saud, for your opening remarks. And as you mentioned, the future of fashion is now and here. Your Highnesses, Your Excellencies, esteemed guests, welcome to Fashion Futures 2021. I'm Mohamed Dakhil, and it's my great pleasure to be your Master of Ceremonies for this global annual event. We have a very packed program split between 2 days, bringing together local, regional, and international fashion communities to create a dynamic exchange of knowledge and expertise and to explore the themes of sustainability, diversity, culture, innovation, and entrepreneurship. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank our global audience who are watching us from around the world. The thousands of you dialed in, you are a testament to the global exchange that fashion represents. To start with our first session of the day, titled Influencing and Shaping the Industry for Good, it's my pleasure to welcome the moderator of this session, Jordana Guimares, co-founder of Fashion Innovation.
Hi, everyone. I am so happy to be here. It's my first time actually in Saudi Arabia, and I have to say it's been the most incredible experience. Beautiful place, beautiful people, just unbelievable. So thank you so much just for having me here, and I'm really grateful to be at Fashion Futures, which is such an incredible event, bringing the world together for the better of fashion. So without further ado, I'm so excited to introduce my panelists today, and I'm so honored to be sharing the stage with such incredible women. So we have with us Lama Al-Akil, we have Tana Al-Harbi, and we have Arizona Muse. So what I'll first do is have each of you do an introduction of yourself to the audience, and then we'll take it from there. So we can start with you.
Okay, hello, hi everyone. First of all, thank you for having me here today. I'm so excited and happy to be here. I'm Lama Al-Agil. I'm a Saudi influencer and public figure. I have a background in fashion design. I studied fashion design, and while studying, I got into influencing and sharing more about my life and fashion and my style.
Amazing.
Hi, everyone. First of all, thank you for having us, Jordana, and the Fashion Future. My name is Tana, and I co-founded the brand Coded Nation. And currently, I'm doing my master's in interaction design, where I'll be able to build the brand further for artificial intelligence and design.
Arizona.
I'm Arizona, and I have been a model for a very long time. And about halfway through my modeling career, I realized that I didn't know enough about the clothes that I was helping to sell. So I started educating myself, and that was mostly from my living room at the time. This was nearly 7 years ago, but way before sustainability was cool. And I wanted to know. I wanted to know where the clothes came from. I wanted to know who made them and what impacts they were having on the planet. And this was, I call it, the beginning of my sustainability journey. And anyone else who's on this journey will know, once you start, you never go back. It's the most exciting thing to learn about. And also, it's terrible. But we need to know these things. And the more you find out, the more you are eager to learn more. And also, learning about the doom and gloom of climate change, because we are in a climate emergency right now. But the more you learn about it, the more you are faced with the solutions and the people who are working on the solutions. And therefore, the more you feel empowered and excited about the positive future that we all have.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And I mean, I'm already empowered just listening to this, because we see that, you know, change makers are here really trying to do things and not just talk about it. So it's incredible. I would love for each of you to just give us a little bit of how did you become an influencer? So we'll start with you, Lama.
Okay, so for me, it happened, I can say by coincidence. I've always been a person that loved to, I always love to know what's happening in the world, the new brands that are emerging and all of that. So I love to always, like my friends would ask me, like what are the in abaya brands or what are the new brands in the market, and I would love to help people and tell them. While studying fashion design, I remember opening up my Instagram account and having a blog back in 2012, and I used to write about fashion and articles about fashion, so it wasn't about me, it was about fashion in general and red carpet looks and all of that. And I think that's when I met Tana in 2012. We were online friends. And then after that, Instagram started to become a thing. I was on Instagram, started sharing more of my looks, and I realized that people loved knowing more about me and my personal style, and I think that's how I started, and it's been like this since then.
Amazing. Tana?
For me, I started interning with the British Fashion Council at a young age, and I was lucky because I was able to do it with my sister, and it was so much fun that I thought that I should share it with the world. So one of my close friends suggested that we should open a blog. So we started from there.
Amazing. Arizona?
I transitioned into influencing from modeling. I do still model, but it was a natural transition when Instagram arrived. Models became influencers because of having a platform to speak. And at first, I really didn't like it. at all. I found it really invasive, and I didn't want people to look at my personal life. And looking back, I realized that that's because I didn't have a passion for modeling. So when people were looking at me as a model, I felt really vulnerable, and it wasn't exciting for me. And then, as I explained to you, I became really passionate about sustainable fashion and climate change, and I'm now a climate activist. I love being an influencer because I'm telling a story that means so much to me. And one of my biggest action that I've taken as an activist is to start a charity. And my charity is called DIRT, and DIRT supports global soil regeneration, because soil is one of the most important things that we need to look after right now in the face of climate change. It can sequester all the carbon that we need it to, and also it can provide us with food and the clothes that we wear. Because I didn't used to stop and say, thank you so much, farmers, for growing my clothes. But in fact, they do.
Yeah, no, amazing. And you were speaking about, like, you know, starting and not really liking it before you dove into that next part of what you do now and really are passionate about. But how do you three keep the balance? So obviously as an influencer, we're watching, everybody wants to see everything that you do all day long. How do you balance what you show and what you don't show? And anybody can take this question.
Okay, to me, balance is the most important thing, and I always say that. I like balancing between my job as an influencer and being on social media, and between my role as a wife, as a daughter, as a mom, as a friend. So I think balance is really important. I think it's even all about time management, and I think that's what keeps me going and keeps me sane. For example, when I feel like I need a break, I would take a break, because it's important not to get too into it to an extent where you feel tired and drained. So I think balance is important in everything in life.
Yeah, 100%. Jana?
Well, for me, I'm still figuring it out. I'm on a break time at the moment, so I took a time off. I closed all my social media accounts for a year now, since last December. So after the
That's amazing.
After the Ralph Lauren campaign, which was the global campaign, I decided that's it. I need to take time where I need to learn new things, develop my skills, learn about everything that I need in the world. I felt like it's taking all my time and energy, and I'm not actually pausing to think what's going around me, because I'm always on speed signing contracts. Okay, let's do that. So yeah, I'm in a balanced moment right now.
Yeah, that's amazing. Arizona?
I completely agree with everything that's been said, and how I manage to find a balance is have really strict rules with myself about when I can be on my phone, when I can be on my computer. I have 2 children. It's really hard to have a great relationship with my children when I've got my phone with me as well, because as you know, when your phone is there, you're like, oh, but I just need to do this one thing, and I just wait a minute, to your friends or your children or those real people in front of you who you actually need to be building a relationship with. So I found making rules is really, really important, and boundaries around when it's okay to use my phone, when it's not. I find that it's not okay to use my phone if I'm sitting at a table with people sharing a meal. It becomes a totally different experience if you've all got your phones with you and you're all trying to have a conversation over the phone, but not really. And I feel like I'm deeply concerned, actually, about the future of society with so much screen time. And I think a lot of my concern is fueled by my amazing mother, who is a parenting coach. She's a psychotherapist who focuses on parenting because she feels that she can do the most help to the world by ensuring that parents cause a little less harm to their children, because let's face it, we all cause harm to our children, always. We also give them a lot of love and a lot of amazing attributes, but we do need to work on the relationship that we have with our children, and screens are getting in the way of that.
Yeah. I always say, I don't know, balance to me is just life, right? I feel like everything just comes together. but it's really knowing the times that you can be on social, and I loved all the answers you just gave, so thank you. So speaking of that, as influencers, I'm a huge believer, and I think everybody here is as well, that when you influence, you can change things, you can make change. And you've spoken a lot, Arizona, about sustainability. So it's something that I'd love to ask the three of you when it comes to sustainability, because I feel it's such a big word that means something different to everybody. How, as an influencer, do you think that you can, within your tribe, your community, the people that follow you, influence when it comes to sustainability? We can start with you.
Okay. So for me, as an influencer, I obviously I always have to have new clothes, new pieces, new dresses, and I always like to give those another life. So if I know I'm not gonna be wearing this, I would find someone who would like it or who would like to use it, and to give it another life. And something else, I personally love buying classic and timeless pieces. So I focus more on that, like on a good quality shirt and timeless bags and shoes, pieces that I could wear so many times and for so many years. Like I have pieces that I would wear. I'm not a person who would say, I wore this once, I'm not gonna wear it again. I wear so many of my clothes and my pieces so many times, and I think that's important, especially when I'm in a position where people follow me and people see me, and I get a lot of comments, and Lema, we saw you wearing this a few years back. I'm like, yeah, there's nothing wrong with wearing the same piece so many times and in different ways, and I think I love having fun with styling my pieces, and I think, yeah, this is one of my ways to be sustainable.
I love it. Someone recently said sometimes it's not necessarily always what you buy, but how you take care of what you buy and how many times you use it. So I loved your answer. Thank you. Tana?
I think sustainability scares a lot of people, the word of sustainability, because immediately they would link it to fast fashion. And I remember when I started, moving towards sustainability and ethical production in 2014, after the Rana Plaza incident happened, it just shook me. So in the beginning, I was like, okay, all fast fashion, disappear. We don't need you in the industry. But it's very difficult to get rid of the fast fashion industry. As human beings, we need to educate ourselves in terms of the consuming behavior. As long as you control yourself and you are up to date with what do you need in your wardrobe and how are you going to sustain it for a longer time. It doesn't matter if it's Zara, Shein, and it doesn't matter if you're consuming luxury brands. What matters is the amount of products you are purchasing every single year, because it will end up into the landfill. Also, brand duties, it's not just a one-man job. It's everyone's in the industry. They need to collaborate and work towards sustainability.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you. Arizona?
I live and breathe sustainability. My activism has just taken over my life in the most beautiful way ever. And I really do invite everyone sitting in this room or listening to this to find your own inner activist. We all have one, and it just turns your life on in the most amazing way. I've never felt more alive than I feel now on this path as an activist. And activism can be whatever you need it to be. I was so shy as a child. If you'd told me when I was 15, oh, one day you're going to be an activist, I would have hidden behind my mom. But activism doesn't have to be shouty. You don't have to demonstrate. You can if that suits you. But your activism can also be quiet. It can just be in the way you choose to purchase things. It can be in the way you educate your children. It can be your choices of where you go to school and educate yourself. Activism is for everybody, and it fits alongside your job. So particularly if you work in a leadership position, find your own inner activist. Get really excited about what you can do for the world.
I love that so much. So with that, I got to know each of you right before, or some of you I know longer, but before this panel. And again, that's why I was just so excited to be here with all of you, because you're all so incredible for there are things that stood out about each of you, so I want to ask each of you a specific question. So we'll start with you, Lama. I know that a lot of the brands that you work with, it's not just something that you come across once and you say, I want to work with this brand, but it's brands that you've been wearing and know for a big part of your life. So when it comes to consumer loyalty, which is something that people talk about a lot, especially now, like how do we engage the consumer? How do we create that loyalty? Tell me a little bit about what consumer loyalty means to you and why you choose the brands that you choose to work with them.
Okay, so I think when starting to get into social media and working with brands, it was very tricky choosing the brands that I would accept working with, or choosing the brands I would work with and the brands that I won't. So many of the brands, and I feel so lucky, I feel so blessed that I work with so many brands that I've been a client of for so many years. And I think that's what makes me love what I do, whether they were fashion brands, jewelry brands, beauty brands, all of that. I think loyalty is important. And to me, I feel like viewers know when I speak about something that I truly love and truly believe in, whether they were of course local or international brands. So yeah, I think.
Amazing, thank you. And Sana, you spoke a little bit about the brands, but like very briefly. And when we spoke, we talked about influencers. Obviously, you influence and you have your part in influencing the person, but then also what is the brand's responsibility when it comes to letting people know more about what does sustainability mean or anything else when it comes to the overall message.
Yeah.
So how much do you think a brand has when it comes to how much should they be responsible for in terms of educating the consumer before the consumer looks at the influencer for more information?
Okay, I used to say 100%, but then when you sit with brands and from the business perspective of it, it's really hard for the brand itself to decide to be sustainable or have the responsibility to educate the consumer. So 80% I'd say, because the upper hand always goes to production and it always goes to the business side of it, which is a different sector. I love brands who are transparent and like open to their consumers and very welcoming of all the feedback they get. And one of the brands that I really, really love is Ralph Lauren, honestly, not just because I worked with them for a long time, is they're pushing towards Vision 2025, which is the sustainable initiative. And they have a vision for 2030 where like they will start using science and technology to produce their fabrics instead of farmers. And sorry, I have a shaky voice, so I was trying to calm myself. So a brand who has a vision and they write about it publicly and they share it with their consumers and look, we are doing this. For example, in 2019, they launched their Family is Who You Love campaign, and they included culture diversity, and they really go beyond, even behind the scenes, to hire and work with so many other culture diverse staff. So to me, I appreciate that side of working hard towards improving your brand and staying for longer. And one of the motives that they have is we are designing for the future generation, meaning that they want to give you a polo shirt, but you need to carry it to your kids, and that it's so sustainable that you have it for 15 years in your wardrobe. So
amazing.
Yeah.
Well, you said two words that really stood out, which is transparency and culture. And I always say that every single person is beautiful just being the way that they are. And if you put that out into the world, everybody will reciprocate because they know it's genuine and it's something real. And people love real, right? So I love everything you just said, so thank you so much for that answer. And then Arizona, we spoke about kids with too much screen time. We've spoken about influencing, you model. It's a lot, right, when it comes to, I guess, let's say the public always being there watching you. And then you talked about when you started, you weren't really into it. And then when you had something, the activism of what you're passionate about came out, you really loved it. And I know mental health is something, very, especially we've seen it a lot during COVID and other times. So how was that, from going from when you weren't really loving it and having maybe not being in your happiest place, like that transition. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I'd like to start by saying that modeling, and I think influencing is very similar in this way, it's not what it looks like. No one can imagine what it's like to be a model until you've done it. And it's not usually the glossiness that you see on the magazine covers, and there's so much else to modeling that is generally quite wearing down for young women who model, and generally models suffer from very low self-esteem, which is really weird because I know that everyone else sees us as being the most beautiful and the most amazing and this, and I really didn't feel like that when I was younger at all, in spite of doing the most incredible campaigns from the fashion houses that you've all heard of and walking in all those shows. And I had a very successful career, and I'm very lucky and grateful for that, but there's so much that goes on behind the scenes in modeling that I just, now when I'm asked by anybody or anybody's parents, oh, should my daughter go into modeling, or should I become a model? It's a really loaded question for me, a really loaded one, because I can't easily say, yeah, it's amazing, like do it. Because I feel like there's so much negativity in the industry, and it can have a really negative impact on the people who participate. And it certainly did on me for a very long time, until I found my activism. And then I in a way, I felt like I was kind of protected from the negativity because I was there for a reason. I had a real reason to be there, and a purpose to share my findings, my learnings, my journey that I was on to understand the Earth and why we're all here and how we can support the Earth's regeneration. Because what we need to be talking about now is regeneration. Sustainability means staying the same. But right now, we're not in a good place. So let's not stay the same. Let's regenerate. Let's get to a better place, Earth-wise, society-wise, exploitation, labor-wise. Like, there are so many things that we need to fix and change in this industry, and we need to work together in a very regenerative way. So that's the word that I leave you with.
And I actually love that, because we're sitting here today at Fashion Futures, and this whole event and Fashion Futures and what it stands for, it's exactly what it was, built to be, and it's doing exactly that. So it's just such a beautiful event and initiative, and I'm so happy to have you all here. And we have very little time left, and I could talk to you guys for so much longer, but I'm super inspired, and I'm sure everybody else here is as well. So we'll just finish off with a quick question, and we'll have each of you answer this. But how can each of us in here, all of us in the world, how can we each influence? How can we, whether we have 5, 10, a million, 100,000, how can we each influence our own community? We'll start with you.
I think all of us here are influencers, whether we're influencing one person, 5 people, or like 1 million people. I think find something that you're passionate about, find something that you feel like you can change, find something that you love, and try influencing, even if it was one person. And I think, it's important.
Thank you. Tana?
I actually agree. If you believe in a message and you practice it yourself, you will be able to inspire so many people to start with you.
Amazing. Thank you. Arizona?
What I'm going to say is a little radical, but I do read the radical stuff. I think that every single one of us, whether we can see it yet or not, has been conditioned to prioritize money. Move away from that. Prioritize other things as well as money. I'm not saying turn away from money and expect that you don't need it anymore. We do need it, and it's okay to have the ambition to earn it. But prioritize other things as well as money. And that's when you'll see a dramatic transition in the choices that you make, and therefore the influencing that you do.
Thank you all so much for being here. I am, again, super excited to be here. Incredible event, incredible country, and incredible panelists with me. So thank you all, and I hope you all enjoy the rest of the event.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jordana, and your esteemed panelists for an interesting session focusing on the changing landscape of the term influencer and how growing influence of social media nowadays strongly ties the term influencer to social media. Next, we'll be diving into a very interesting topic, the future of Fashion Week. It's my pleasure to welcome the moderator of this session, Virgie Tovar, contributor at Forbes.com. It's great to have you with us. The stage is yours.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello. Thank you. Wow, I'm so excited to be here. How are you feeling?
I'm a little nervous, but yeah, it's fine.
Yes, it's going to be okay. So thank you so much for having us and for being here. I'm so excited to be speaking to very powerful people. So we're in the presence of some very powerful founder energy, and you'll be meeting the three incredible people we'll be speaking to in just a second. So let's just dive right in. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, Fern, Poppy, how are you feeling? Thumbs up. All right. So I guess
Hello. Yes, I'm fine.
Excellent. All right. So let's start this exciting panel by looking at one of the key words for fashion futures, which is inclusivity. So how do you each define inclusivity, and what is your dream, your no holds barred dream for inclusivity when you think of the future of Fashion Week? Adama, would you like to go first?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
I think to me, inclusivity is about bringing and tearing apart borders. As an African, as a Black woman, it was always hard for us as fashion designer to get out there, because of all these borders, the language barrier and stuff. So the day we are all able to be in a global stage, but still have our heritage, because to me, owning your culture and sharing it is just caring. So to me, that's the dream.
Oh, I love that. Thank you. Poppy, do you have thoughts on this question?
Yes, of course. As an Indonesians, the moment that we have the independence, cooperative is one of our core in the business life. We have, the private sectors, and we have also the government sectors, but we also have cooperative. It means inclusivity. So to my point that from the economic point of view, I think inclusivity, that the big one, the small one have the same access, you see, to the market, to the educations, to everything that can make the business growing up together. The big one can grow, you see, and then the medium one also can grow, and also the small one also can grow, equality. So because for the past decade, the big one is always monopoly, see, while the percentage of the market, it's many people. So by the inclusivity, we always have it in Indonesia, as is a kind of revolutionary for the small and medium enterprise to have a grow, with the same chances and everything in order to have a good economic point of view for everybody.
Yes, amazing. And then Fern?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Am I on? Good morning. I'm happy to join you here from New York. And I'm sorry I'm not there in Riyadh with all of you. But the question about inclusivity for Fashion Week. For me, inclusivity means allowing as many people as possible to have an opportunity. Fashion Week has always done that. I started New York Fashion Week in 1993. It was one of the first fashion weeks ever created with corporate sponsors to build a fashion week in New York. And that helped helped create a buzz in New York and created an industry and discovered so many designers. Inclusivity to me means letting everybody have a chance and have an opportunity. I know now the meaning has changed somewhat to be about all different size inclusivity, ethnicity inclusivity, and all of that's very important, and that I think we're going to talk about a little in a couple of minutes. But inclusivity is let everybody have a chance to show their talent and have an opportunity to grow and prosper and be seen and be heard.
Yes, absolutely. That was wonderful. Thank you so much. I mean, on the one hand, digital fashion weeks can democratize fashion and create more universal access. On the other hand, fashion is so much about immediacy and tangibility, the texture, the movement of the garment. And I think runway shows have become known for the energy that we get when everyone is in one place. So I'm wondering, do you see some middle ground between the former and the latter as we move forward? Poppy, would you like to go first?
Yeah, I think this pandemic is really make us, we have to set up our mind differently. I think we have to find the, a balance between the offline fashion week and also a virtual fashion week. That's what we did in a But of course, for me, it's not 100% that we have to go digital because a human have to have, we have the needs to be interactions with other human beings. So the balance is very important. And what would be making the balance? I think is the age. For instance, my age of people would like to see more in physical. And then the millennial, I think still. But the younger one, like Gen Z generations and everything, they can go more to the digital. So I think this is about a process of age too, while, I mean, when we are older, our style and everything is also changing. So this is, in my opinion, because the younger generations, they love this urban fashion and everything, which for me, New York, Jakarta, Paris, looks the same. But someone like me who put value to heritage, and we like to see more in real. So the balance of this power should be balanced in the future.
Oh, I love that, keeping in mind age and specific tastes and needs. I love that. Fern, I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Well, I think nothing replaces a live fashion show. To see clothing move on beautiful models, whatever their size and shape is, and to feel the energy in a venue, watching a show together with your colleagues in an industry is certainly the ideal situation. But I have to applaud the fashion industry and the designers and all the creative people involved in putting a collection together that during this pandemic, in the last year and a half, before we were able to go back to live shows this past season, the industry was so creative, creating films and all sorts of special projects and other ways to virtually stay alive and to virtually get their message out. They did brilliant jobs. I mean, some films were fabulous, some were really boring, some were just too artsy, but they did something. I mean, designers put entire collections together remotely. They weren't able to be in studios draping with their teams, working with their stylists. Everything was done independently, and somehow it all came together. And I think in the future, we're gonna have it hybrid. I think people have gotten used to some of that online, watching everything, and that will exist. Many of the shows are live streamed now for people, but nothing replaces a live runway show. And for 25 years in this industry, Every year I've heard the stories, Fashion Week is over, it's the end of Fashion Week, Fashion Weeks are going to be over. That's not the case. Clearly it hasn't happened. There's a Fashion Week in every country in the world and almost in every city in my country, in America. So Fashion Weeks are here to stay.
Amazing. I love this. Adama?
I totally agree with this lady, but I am in between the age, so I believe in hybrid. I believe in bringing together digital and physical. Of course, nothing can replace Fashion Weeks, like the vibes and everything. But I do like the idea of especially in Africa, allowing people who are not part of the fashion world to be part of it, like just behind the screen, to be able to watch New York, and that's something that we didn't have before. So I love that energy of having Fashion Week, but we can do both. We're doing both. Like at Dakar Fashion Week, during the pandemic, we were so creative. We get outside of the city. We went and did a show in a baobab forest, outside of, it just allowed us to get more creative, to be able to keep the show going, keep the, fashion going. And also we did screen and shot everything for people at their house. So I think that we can really bring more attention to fashion to the young generation that really in the early, and to people like us who really love the flow, the clothes, the kissing, their, hey Razan, hey buyer. So I think I really believe in both, and I really also believe in getting out of our comfort zone and seeing fashion in a different way, in different perspective. And as an African and Black woman, just try to not be molded by this, I'm sorry, westernized way of doing things. I'm African, I'm Black, I'm Muslim, so my way of thinking of fashion is totally different probably from yours, even if we share that passion. So I'm really advocating for any culture to be able to do the fashion the way they want it. And not having, for instance, we don't do fashion shows back to back. We have a big fashion show where everybody is, so the young generation and the young designer get to have the attention of those already well known.
I love that.
Thank you.
I love that. Yes. And we're sort of practicing a hybrid right now, so it's fun being part of the experiment. So my next question is actually specifically for Fern. So in a 2013 New York Times article, you presciently noted that Fashion Week needs to be rethought. And I'm curious, what did you see, what did you mean then? And is it the same as what needs to be rethought now?
I think Fashion Week always needs to be rethought. I don't think we can ever rest on our laurels. I think Fashion Week, certainly when I was talking about that, it was for New York, and things were getting, hundreds and hundreds of shows were happening. There were just so many people. I think that we had to rethink, who are the shows for? Who is the audience? It's very different in all these different countries, because in New York, it's really for, the shows were created for buyers and press and the media, and then things started to shift to become more consumer-oriented. Some collections were trying to be, sold immediately to their audience, and it started to change things. But I always think it's important to rethink, look at each Fashion Week, look at what the industry is doing, come together and decide what are the priorities and focus on that. I think it's always important to rethink everything. I've done that my whole life. Every season, you think of how you could do something better and how you could do it differently. So I can't remember in 2013 exactly what I was addressing, but yes. I'm sure it got addressed and was taken care of. But Fashion Weeks are always evolving as the industry is evolving, as the world is evolving and changing, and Fashion Weeks have to change with that.
Yes, absolutely. Poppy, this question is for you. So in an interview, you said, in the past, fashion was not considered an important industry in Indonesia. However, with more professional management in the production and business side, it has now become the new industry that brings revenue to the country. So I'm wondering if you can talk more about the relationship between fashion and building stronger national economies, and what role Fashion Weeks potentially have in that.
Okay, I think people don't realize that actually textile and garment and fashion, it's number 2 to our GDP. Yeah, it means it gives so much contributions to our economic growth. So fashion, you started from cotton. You see the farm of cotton, and then the silk, and then the spinning, and then the textile, the weaving, the big industry, and then the batik, a woman weaving, and then after that garment and fashion, and after the fashion show, you can see how long is the process of this industry, which can give a lot of chances to the people who works. So it's a very, very important. People used to think it's not important, but actually it's very important. Now the government realizing that, you see, so they're supporting a lot of fashion week of this, fashion week of that, you know, which make me very happy. I've been 40 years in this business, and then now it's more and more people realize that fashion is the tools that can transform from the industry that we have in Indonesia to a fashion industry. It means that it gives value, added value to the product. So in this case, that it's becoming very, very important.
Amazing. Yes, absolutely. Adama, this question is for you. So envisioning the future of really anything is fundamentally an act of imagination. So can you talk about founding Dakar Fashion Week and what lessons from that experience that you would like to bring to any conversation about the future of Fashion Week?
I started like really young. I was maybe 22 when I come back home and started the fashion week. Everybody was like, "Are you crazy as a woman and everything?" And I learned, actually, it's my baby is now 19 years. Next year is going to be the 20 years anniversary. So I'm shocked that I did it for that long. But I learned over the years to just be consistency, and also be true to myself, to my culture, and to what I want. And I try not to be distracted by other noises, because I think as much as it's important to include people, I think that we as individuals, as culture, need to kind of push our boundary and push our way of doing things. And for me, honestly, sharing is caring, and caring is sharing. So we're trying to be innovative. We're trying to, go outside, because sustainability is something really I love. So I really try to get out of there. We're doing stuff in forests. We're doing stuff in airports. We really are trying to be creative and have fun. Like really, the main thing is having fun with what you do, and also impacting people. Like I'm really proud of Dakar Fashion Week, what it become as part of, like, we have a scholarship. We're sending kids to school in Europe. We're giving also scholarship to people coming to Morocco. So I want to start something here. I want to be able to send my designer here and have some of people from here go. I think that exchange is the key for us to just keep being relevant and growing and sharing our heritage and sharing our passion for fashion.
Yes, and I love this forest imagery. This makes me very happy.
It's really nice.
All right, so I think we have time for one more question, and it is this: returning to inclusivity. This question is for all the panelists. Do you think fashion weeks will begin to drop brands that refuse to diversify or center inclusivity? Is this the new normal? And if yes, what does that mean? Fern, could you take this first?
Sure. I don't think that fashion weeks per se can dictate who a designer puts in their show and what models they use. That is totally up to the designer. It's their creative vision. But society has clearly sent a message out that people want to see more inclusivity. They want to see more models of diverse sizes ages, ethnicities. And I think that that's happening more and more. I couldn't be prouder of the designers in New York. They always, almost all of them have been showing many plus size models, and that's an important part of the universe. I mean, that's the biggest sector in the population. And it's criminal that more designers don't do it, but Fashion Week per se cannot dictate that. That's the public and that's the customers who will drive that energy and hopefully turn these designers around so that they all have very inclusive shows.
Yes, yes. I mean, I've been thinking about this. It's like, well, the plus size sector is 70% of the US market and the British market. What does it mean to include 70% of the population?
Yes.
Poppy, can you take that next?
I think with the, as Flynn said, many people still wishing and hope to see the real fashion show offline. And then with this inclusivity and then exclusivity, I think more new brands will coming up, you see, like especially from coming from the young people. And then the offline also will still go in the market. As I always said that we have to find a balance between the offline and then the online, yeah. So, and then like Indonesia Fashion Week, I think we are doing it already. You see that we accept a lot of young people, you know, the young designer, the young talented, and then the indigenous people to be in the States on the Fashion Week. And then also we also are having this young designer competition that coming from all over Indonesia. And then we give them the chance, you see, to be on stage. And then when we find a good one, and then we give them educations. I mean, the prize will go to Rome, and then the second one will go to, I have a school, La Salle, in Jakarta. And then the third one we also give to another fashion school. It means that in the Fashion Week, we are connecting a lot of network, from traditionals to classic, to and then like now with the Saudi, and then with Europe, with many other countries, that I think Fashion Week, it still will be very important, but we also have to find a kind of balance. How, as Paris say, Adam Paris say, that, you know, hybrid is becoming very attractive, because even the people in the village, they can see also what is happening in Jakarta Fashion Week, or even in Paris or in New York. So with this pandemic, it's really make us to see more growth. You see, we have to adapt of the new situations, and then to me, it's like revolutionary.
Yes, yes, incredible. I mean, Adama,
Quick.
we're out of time.
Yes,
Do you
I
have like a
know.
5-second
Yes.
thing, something genius?
I hope that whoever is not included that will just be off. I'm really advocating for inclusivity, and it's not only about sizes or races. This is just the future of everybody, everything. So I'm advocating for, if you want to stay relevant and stay in the fashion business, you need to include everybody, anybody, because everybody wear clothes.
Yes, 100%. All right, well, that wraps us up.
Bye.
Incredible. Thank you, Fern and Poppy and Adama. I would love to introduce Billy Whitehouse, our next session, CEO and Creative Director of Wearable X. Thank you so much for your time.
Hello, good morning. Thank you so much for having me. It is such a pleasure to be here from New York. My name is Billy Whitehouse. I am the CEO and Creative Director at Wearable X. And at Wearable X, we believe in designing invisible technologies that help us feel. Now, what does that mean? That means that invisible technologies that go beyond the screen. I'm sure we're all very well aware of our screen domination over the last 10 years. And we believe in designing a new world where our clothes are enchanted by technology. So what is Wearable X? So Wearable X specializes in integrating sensors and haptic feedback into smart fitness apparel. Now, what that means is that we can measure your body's posture and we can provide real-time haptic feedback or vibrational feedback back on the body. In 2017, we were actually named one of Fast Company's most innovative companies in fitness because of our development of our invisible technologies. So, when I talk about invisible technologies, we are not the only ones building this. And we're not the only ones who believe in this future of enchanted objects and enchanted clothing. But what I am really excited to share with you is our product called Nadi X. Now, Nadi X is a yoga line that has embedded sensors through the hips, the knees, and the ankles that can measure your yoga posture and allow you to have real-time vibrational feedback depending on the success of your yoga. Now, why did we go into yoga and why do we believe in invisible technology?
Ladies and gentlemen who are attending here in the Riyadh Hub, we have two interesting workshops taking place now. Workshop 1 will dive into our entrepreneurship pillar, and Workshop 2 will dive into our sustainability pillar. Please feel free to visit these workshops. And if you're keen to continue watching the ongoing plenary sessions taking place in New York and Paris, we'll be live streaming those here. So enjoy your workshops and we'll see you soon.
The validation and the proof is in the pudding. And smart clothing is really just at the beginning of its forefront. So on this journey, we really learnt and took on board some of Dieter Rams' design principles about what makes good design good. And he has this 10-step structure. Is it innovative? Is it useful? Is it aesthetic? Is it unobtrusive? Is it honest? Is it long-lasting? Is it thorough? Is it environmentally friendly? And have you done it with as little design as possible? So this comes back to the invisibly integrated idea. And specifically, we look at the at-home fitness market. Now, this market is already a rapidly growing market. In fact, I believe it's worth $22 billion by 2027. And there are already some major players in this space, whether it's Peloton or Mirror or Whoop or Fitbit. We know that this market has a huge opportunity. But where is it lacking? And for me, the reality is it's not personalized, it's not thinking about injury prevention, and it's not thinking about pain mitigation. And what I really want to explore is how do invisible technologies help us feel well and help us live a mobile life. So the wellness industry is this trillion-dollar market with already these major players in it. How does one differentiate? Well, for us, what's really important is how do we create technologies that move with us, that transport with us, especially with this new nomadic lifestyle that many people have been living. How do we design for that mobility and how do we design for change? And those are the questions that I think we should be asking ourselves as designers in general, as people who wear clothing, and as we continue to innovate and build a new version of the future. So why did we focus on haptic feedback and why now? And why not 10 years ago or why not in 10 years? Well, first and foremost, at Wearable X, we believe in designing for all 5 senses. That means thinking about how it feels on the body, what the sensation is, what it smells like. I'm not going to encourage people to go and taste their clothing, but it really is very important that we think about all 5 senses because not everyone has the same access to all of those senses all the time. And so we believe in designing for inclusivity by designing for all 5 senses. So some of our lessons learned are that innovation is genuinely hard, but inside that friction of where it becomes really difficult and where you are met with a design challenge, that friction, to quote Ivan Puparev, who will already be talking later today, friction can be good in the design process. And often it helps us find where the problems are in the design. I think that there's a Silicon Valley goal at the moment to find the problem and design for the problem. And yes, we must find problems to design for that are truly and fundamentally human. But we shouldn't always focus on the negative. It doesn't always have to be about the problem. It can also be about delighting the person. And design and fashion has always been about delighting the person who's wearing the clothing. So in talking about a new problem, a problem that very much we focus on at Wearable X, 80% of the worldwide population actually suffers from lower back pain. And what we discovered in our work is that 75% of our customers, our yoga customers, are already practicing yoga to alleviate their lower back pain. So while we design for yoga and recovery and pain mitigation, I really encourage you to think about how your clothing from now on can be enchanted by technology to do more than just cover up a body. This is a really unique opportunity for smart textiles and smart innovation. And the smart fitness apparel space is really and truly only at the forefront. So in leaving you, I want to sort of recap what Wearable X is about. Wearable X believes in invisible technologies that are integrated into our lives to help us live well. And that means looking at all 5 senses to design for. And that means enchanting your clothing with technology so that you're not entirely dominated by your screen. What that means is we look for what good design is, and we look for technology to fade into the background. And good design means that it's innovative, useful, honest, long-lasting, thorough, unobtrusive, environmentally friendly, and with as little as possible. I'm so grateful to be here for you all. Please follow along on our journey. Please follow at Wearable X. We are going to continue to design invisible technologies, and we're going to continue to innovate on amazing pieces of apparel. And I encourage you to do the same. Thank you very much.
From New York, thank you, Billy Whitehouse, for shedding light on the future of fashion and how tech is reshaping the industry for a better quality of life. In continuation to this, we'll go now to New York again, where our next session will discuss how new technologies provide new opportunities in material science and in order, of course, to serve sustainability in the fashion industry. Please join me in welcoming the moderator of this session, Edward Hertzman, Executive VP of Fairchild Media and founder of Sourcing Journal. It's great having you with us, Edward.
Thank you so much. Good morning. I guess I should say. Thank you so much for having me. Good morning. I guess I should say good afternoon and good evening. I know we have guests and audience all over the world. Stephanie and Louis, welcome. If you both in 90 seconds or less can please give us a brief overview of your company and organization.
Happy to do so, and thank you so much for having us. We're thrilled to be here. My name is Stephanie Benedetto, and I'm the Queen of Raw. I'm on a mission to solve the world's water crisis, and my focus is fashion and textiles, which by some accounts is the #2 polluter in the world of clean water globally. And so we built a platform. So anyone from a student maker, crafter, or quilter to the biggest brands and retailers in the world can buy and sell their unused textiles, keep it out of landfill, and turn what would be pollution into profit. And to date, we've saved over 1 billion gallons of water, and we're just getting started. So never doubt that the actions you take can't go change the world.
Louis?
Yes, good morning, good afternoon, and evening. My name is Louis Perkins, and I'm the president at the Apparel Impact Institute. And we were founded in 2017. We rolled out of the Sustainable Apparel Coalition and some of the work streams at the NRDC, particularly the Clean by Design initiative. Our purpose and our mission is really to identify and fund and scale proven solutions that will address the industry's key environmental and social issues. And so when I say that, it's really around looking at how are we going to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals laid out by the UN or the Science-Based Targets Initiative to maintain temperature, climate increase. And so in order to do that, brands are coming together and working with suppliers in collective action. And so our organization helps aggregate funding, helps direct a line and course of direction for, like I said, identifying key solutions, some of which are proven and some of which are not, which is great for the topic today around new innovations as well, in order to achieve some of these environmental goals.
So Stephanie, I have to start by asking, a little off topic, but more for my intellectual curiosity, why did you leave a lucrative career in law for this, crazy industry?
Well, it actually saved a lot on legal bills in the beginning of building my company. But I actually come from a family background of over 100 years in fashion and textiles. In 1896, my great-grandfather came over on a ship from Austria. He landed at Ellis Island, and he settled into the Lower East Side of New York, which was the original garment district. And he was an immigrant chasing the American dream, and he had to make a living for his family. So what did he do? He found materials and supplies nearby, old fabrics and furs and things immigrants brought over on the ships with them but weren't using, and he'd repurpose them into beautiful fashion garments, and he sold to local customers. So it was truly that business model that was an inspiration for what we're building with Queen of Raw. Now, I didn't do the family route. I did end up on Wall Street as a corporate attorney, but specializing in fashion, technology, and sustainability. So I guess at the end of the day, we do get back to our roots and who we are. And then when the market crashed in 08 and 09, that's when I took it as my opportunity, kind of similar to what's going on in the world today, to go out, build something great, make a difference, and change the world.
So Louis, your organization has aligned itself with the UN Development Goals. Why is that important, and are you seeing tangible progress?
Absolutely, great question. I think, when we founded the organization, we realized that we didn't need to set new targets or new direction for the industry, that key organizations like the UN had already began to establish it, but we didn't necessarily know what the year-over-year roadmap looked like or which milestones we should reach. And so complementing that with initiatives like the Science-Based Targets Initiative, which tells us we have to lower our carbon by nearly a half by 2030 as an industry and how the clothing are made. And the only way that we're going to be able to do that is either slowing down production, creating new shared economy and circular economy models like Stephanie's company, and other fantastic initiatives that are out there driving circularity, but for the clothing that's being made and manufactured every day, which is not going to necessarily slow down immediately, we need to rapidly retool the way it's made. So for us, the ability to say, we recognize the industry is establishing goals, they're making public commitments through the UN Fashion Charter, through UN Sustainable Development Goals, how are we now going to help them achieve it, really gave us a more clear direction and purpose on how we could lean into sort of the swim lane for our organization would be, based on those commitments, here's how we're going to help you get there.
So I think one of the challenges our industry is facing is that we know we must become more sustainable. It's good for the business, it's needed for the environment, but at the same time, we are still running a business. And this notion that people often come out and say, don't buy any product, reduce what you, well, that's a nice message, but at the end of the day, people still need to be profitable and run organizations, which I feel may be the reason we're seeing circularity become more and more important to this conversation, because it's great pillar of sustainability, but it also allows us to be profitable and continue to grow our businesses. Do you believe circularity is the key to minimizing fashion's impact on the environment? Stephanie, do you want to start?
I love that you chose that word, circularity, because as opposed to that S word, sustainability, circular economy, the second word in that is economy. It's an economic principle, and I think that gets forgotten sometimes. We actually wrote a white paper with H&M and an Ellen MacArthur Foundation and a number of other organizations called the Circular City Initiative. And we showed how many good jobs could be created and how much money could be saved and made by a city like New York City going circular in the coming years. And yes, we showed what changes in the laws would need to happen. But this isn't just about slapping businesses with millions of dollars in liability on the books for not complying and not being circular. This was also about showing case studies like businesses like Queen of Raw and how businesses can solve these problems and offset that coming legal liability. And I think that's really important because fashion, although it may be, by some accounts, the #2 polluter in the world of clean water globally, it also means that fashion has the power to solve the world's water crisis if we rethink how we do things and leverage new business models and technologies.
Louis, you want to add to that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, circularity as a concept and as a framework doesn't just involve the materials being reutilized into future cycles. It also looks at the circularity of all inputs to the system, and that includes human and social labor, that includes water, that includes, uses of energy. And so we're looking at creating more regenerative systems as a whole. And as you step back and look at how that's going to impact not only existing products that are out there, but also the culture around how society wants to embrace in products moving forward, that they're made better, that they're made to last longer, and that products may have more inherent value. And so we talk a lot about shifting, from values to value, and so matching up what we believe in and what we're working on as a society with the fashion industry to say, we're going to put more value in a product, so therefore we're going to respect it, love it, own it, and make sure it gets into the next cycle, whether it's going to be worn by someone else or whether it's going to be reutilized as materials or repurposed or upcycled. And so I think the overall view on how we start to create greater value is going to impact virgin product materials being made as well as products to circulate, and absolutely profitable because it's just a retooling of how we look at that value and where we capture it and recapture it. But companies are coming up with all kinds of new systems around making sure that these circular and reshare and rental programs are part of their companies, and that's the diversification of business models we're going to see.
So Louis, Stephanie mentioned a report that she recently put out. I know your organization as well just released 2 reports about reducing the industry's impact on the environment. Can you tell us a little bit about what you found in your studies?
Absolutely, and the 2 reports, which are on our website at apparelimpact.org, the first one was done in partnership with the World Resource Institute, and they are one of the key partners that have been establishing the framework for the Science-Based Targets Initiative. So in order to stay under 1.5 degrees Celsius temperature increase by 2030, the industry has to cut its carbon by a minimum of 45% CO2 emissions, potentially higher. So what the first report does is, where is that carbon? Like, where is the carbon and where can we get it out? So we broke it down into basically 3 key areas, one around the use of materials, one around the energy and production, and one around circular systems that combine to the 2. And this is all really looking at the supply chain, where over 90% of the CO2 emission in the fashion industry exists. So report 1 is the framework. Please go take a look at it, and it looks at which particular areas, from renewables to thermal innovation to next generation materials and the circular systems that surround those new models and inputs. And then the second report is really the money. Like, what is it going to cost us and what opportunities are there? So we've always known that until you start to align this back to creating shareholder wealth, creating value in different areas, this work won't really take off in the way that it needs to. And so this report says there's basically a $1 trillion opportunity that we can unlock in decarbonizing the fashion industry. And it takes those key areas I talked about in the first report, and it looks at actually specific areas of blended capital, from philanthropy and grants to corporate treasury dollar engagement to debt and equity, and then looks at particular amounts and then by those intersection areas. So what's the opportunity for coal elimination? What's the opportunity for circular systems, next generation materials, and breaks it down. So I encourage everyone to dig in because they're really interesting.
So I think it's difficult to not have a conversation today and talk about COVID, even though it's hard to imagine that, I don't know, what are we, 18 or 20 or 22 months into this craziness. But I'd like to know how COVID has impacted the sustainability initiatives of you and your partners. I know when COVID first hit, one of my big concerns was everyone was cutting. Was this going to be one of the areas that people cut? And from my perspective, not only did I not see them cut this, I see them really doubling down on making this a priority, investing. But I'd like to hear your perspectives. What are you both seeing as it pertains to this? Stephanie?
In the beginning of the pandemic, we kept hearing people say, oh, fashion is dead. Well, unless we're all going to go naked, we are going to consume clothes. Just how we consume it, what it's made of, where it goes to, right? That's what's changing, what we do with it at end of life. For my business, we were looking at the waste issue. And before COVID, it was about $120 billion a year worth of unused clothing that sits in warehouses collecting dust or gets burned or sent to landfill. Well, obviously, as one can imagine, through COVID, this supply chain waste matters now more than ever. It's at around $288 billion and growing. There's more unused inventory than ever before because there was that period of canceled orders, closed stores, missed seasons and collections, right? But I think what's interesting is that when we first started talking to fashion brands and retailers about this waste, they saw solving this issue as a nice to have, not a have to have. But bringing about meaningful change really requires the participation of the C-suites to come in and see how essential sustainability is for their bottom and top line in their business. And I think that's what changed through COVID. The latest McKinsey report shows that these issues of sustainability, circular economy, waste, this matters now more than ever to support people and planet, but also for businesses' profits, so that we can not only survive today, but truly thrive tomorrow.
Louis?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think we felt the same way as Stephanie at the beginning. I think we all were sort of, on pins and needles for a couple of weeks as the supply chain shut down. And as, we wondered if people were going to really look at this whole industry differently. And I think the answer is yes, but it didn't mean they were going to consume less. And I think that's a really key important point. What it meant was they were going to engage differently in apparel and make different kinds of choices. And then the other interesting thing that happened was, we got all these reports about how air quality was better and how certain areas that had been filled with smog was now you could see the sky, you could see the mountain range outside the city, birds were coming back into key areas. And I think that resonated with humans a lot. And it had an impact on him going back into the office and sitting down and saying, what's important to our company? What's important to our brand values? And people really started thinking a lot about this. I believe that's what was behind it. This is certainly my anecdotal sort of experience of what was happening. But as I was talking to companies, there was this doubling down. It was like, look what we can do when we slow down the impacts of production. We have to go to clean energy. We have to stop using coal. We have to create circular models and put them into rapid action and scalability. So I think there's a key doubling down because we got a moment to glimpse and see what the planet and our society could look like when we slowed down and we got to look at the world around us. That's what I think is influencing this. It's like the Great Depression was for a whole other era of people. This is sort of that for us. It's going to shape everything about the way we move forward. And we're seeing it because our budgets are doubling next year. The companies that are engaging us around this carbon work is doubling. And so, the impact, I think, is definitely real.
I hate to bring it back to the economics, but I think another point is, yes, we understand the importance for the environment and future generations, but at the same time, there is a new generation of consumers that are requiring this. And I think when we talk about sustainability, and I think it was the CEO of L'Oreal, or Estee Lauder, I'm gonna butcher it, but he basically was saying that all generations are not the same. He was saying that baby boomers, they may not even know what sustainability is, and millennials, they like to talk about it, but at the end of the day, they don't go to the cash register and spend more. But the Gen Z, and he called it Gen C, which is irrespective of age, they are actually voting with their dollars. And I think that if companies do not invest in sustainability in the future, they're actually going to lose the future generations of consumers, and then economically they're going to be shut down. So I think this is important for business as well. Let's pivot a little bit and talk about technology. I have to imagine, Stephanie, obviously you have a platform, you have a marketplace that's rooted in technology. How important is technology to scaling these sustainability initiatives across the industry? And how important is technology to your business in particular?
Well, let's myth bust a little bit here, right? Because I think for a while, sustainability, for so many people, they assumed it was only good for little pilot projects or little eco-conscious collections, and that it wasn't possible to solve these things automated and at scale, and for Fortune 500. And I think I know why that happened, because in many ways, some of the world's most powerful fashion brands and retailers before COVID were still doing things the way my great-grandfather did in 1896, running supply chains with good old pen and paper, or maybe if they were a little bit better, an Excel spreadsheet. And I think that's where a lot of the waste and the inefficiency got caught up in. Well, the good news is that thanks to technology, right, we can truly do this automated and at scale and have a real significant impact on the world. We leverage tools, like you said, a marketplace, software, machine learning, blockchain, a lot of exciting innovation going on in technology right now. But if I'm doing my job right as a technology partner to these businesses, you don't have to worry about the technology. That's what we do. You can still do what you do best, create, make, right? And we can support you with all these new innovations in technology. And we have leveraged some incredible partners to do that, like SAP and others. So people, I think, realize now more than ever that this is about doing it automated and at scale. And one of our enterprise customers, a Fortune 500, actually saw 15% of their bottom line improve just by finding waste and selling it. And not only that, by talking about the good work they were doing with their waste, they actually saw 3 times the conversion rate in their online direct-to-consumer business just by talking about it. So this is where we can do it and have a significant impact to the bottom and top line.
So Louis, you know, Stephanie obviously mentioned the scalability of her business, but I'd like to get your perspective on this, because a lot of people will say, you know, you walk into a store, this is a capsule collection, this is a marketing, they're changing the hang tag on a few products, they're marketing the 5% to really push the 95% of the collection, which has nothing to do with sustainability. So the question is this really scalable across not just small DTCs, but whether it's the large scale legacy brick and mortars, it's the fast fashion retailers? How scalable is a more sustainable and a more circular supply chain?
Absolutely. I think we get stuck often on this idea that things aren't scalable. The reality is it is all scalable. It just requires the resources, the dedication, and pulling the trigger, pulling the lever. And, you know, leaning back into this report that I mentioned before, you know, we know that there's about 60% of the solutions out there are proven. They are good, they're ready to scale. Then we have some things we need to figure out, particularly related to sorting and you know, better technologies around sorting and better technologies around eliminating coal and the use of thermal heat in production. You know, we dye our clothes with a whole bunch of coal, by the way. We got to get rid of it. So there's some really interesting areas where philanthropy and other areas can come in to help proof point, bring in private equity and get some programs out there. And so there is an opportunity for some growth from early stage to late, but there's a tremendous amount of solutions that are ready to scale. Clean energy, circular systems, we just need to build the infrastructure and get going. And that's all now. I mean, if we're gonna make this goal of lowering carbon by a half by 2030, then it's this year and next when a lot of these things have to like rapidly get put into place, which is why the big call for blended capital right now. So to your question, you know, absolutely scalable, and it's just, let's stop saying things aren't scalable, let's just get out there and proof point them. And you have to know the data too, that's the other thing. You have to make smart choices. There may be a certain thing when you weigh it and you look at a life cycle analysis, you go, that's great, but it's only gonna be 1% carbon reduction. But if I do this other thing and I put my resources into this other action, I can lower my carbon by 10% over here. And it's almost like gamifying it. And I think now that we've got a roadmap and we know where a lot of the carbon can be captured, we're gonna be asking people like, you know, what's the impact of this? How much, do you know how much this will save? And then you can model out that scalability, and then the proof is in the numbers.
You're also seeing a lot of investment. You're seeing these green funds. You know, I know there's a prominent private equity firm that just put a lot of money behind Recover. You know, you're seeing Lenzing launching Refibra and other fibers over the past couple of years. The growth of Unify. So you're seeing a lot of investment across tech, blockchain, ingredient investment. So Stephanie, I hate to put you on the spot, especially at live right now, but I know we've had a couple conversations about this kind of offline, and I get it, but at the same time, I feel bad about it, is you do a lot of work with fast fashion brands, and you get flack for it, and I know, like, I don't really understand it. Can you speak to it a little bit?
You know, I want everyone to feel that we're all a part of the problem, but we're also all a part of the solution. And so in my business model and the way we approach this, we want to work with everyone, from fast fashion to luxury haute couture, across industries and around the world, because we should all be a part of this. And I truly believe that changing just a small percent of the way some of these large enterprise organizations do business, well, if you look and measure the data and the numbers, that can have a massive impact on the world. I mean, we literally, as we said, can solve the climate crisis if we rethink these things and we work with each other to leverage these solutions. So we're very proud to do that. Even on our platform, aside from working across industries and around the world, we do even sell leathers, exotics, and skins on our platform. We've sometimes been criticized for that as well. And maybe it means that that's not for you to purchase and use, but it has an impact that I can measure. Rescuing this stuff and working with large enterprise organizations, we've spent a lot of time with MIT measuring the amount of water, the toxins, the carbon emissions, the waste, and the dollars saved by the actions that we take, and democratizing access to that information for everyone. So that means something powerful to me, and I want us all to work together to solve this.
You know, we live in a world today where no matter what you do, you're going to have a critic, good, bad, or indifferent. You do nothing, you have a critic. But I think you bring up an interesting point, because if these firms represent such a large portion of the consumption and the output from the factories, that is a real opportunity to make change. So whether you're selling them excess fabric, or they're able to offload excess inventory, or whatever it may be, I agree with you that, you know, lean in, because they're not going anywhere. So how could we help improve by working with them? So lastly, and literally you each have 30 seconds to answer this question. If you had $1 to spend and one initiative to back to foster real change, how would you apply it? Stephanie, 30 seconds. Louis, 30 seconds.
We're really proud to have partnered with Under Armour, North Face, and a number of others in the Microfiber Innovation Challenge. We are literally putting our dollars into solving the microfiber plastic pollution problem, because as much as I want to keep these materials in circulation, keeping the plastics out of our water and not touching our skins and our bodies is critically important, and really excited to help solve that problem.
Great. And I would add to that, I would spend the dollar and try to attract a lot more dollars around the research to eliminate coal use in the supply chain. And yes, for the grid, but I'm really thinking about like the volume of coal used for boilers to get our clothing dyed. It's a tremendous impact on the environment. It's over half of the carbon out there, and so we have to disrupt that. Renewable innovation for thermal heat, like that's where I would put all my R&D and scalability efforts.
Stephanie, Louis, thank you for your time, and thank you everyone for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Again, from New York, thank you all for a great session focusing on the future of sustainability in the fashion industry. And for our Riyadh audience, we have 2 more interesting workshops happening at 5:10 p.m. Workshop 1 will dive into our diversity and culture pillar, and workshop 2 will dive into our innovation pillar. And back to our global audience, we are joined now by a very special guest from Paris, Laetitia Roche-Grenet, Open Innovation Director LVMH. Bonjour, Laetitia. It's great having you with us.
Bonjour from Paris, and thank you very much for inviting me to be in Riyadh today, at least digitally. I'm Laetitia Roche-Grenet, Director of Open Innovation at LVMH. So I first would like to thank very much Her Highness Princess Noura, as well as the Ministry of Culture and the Fashion Commission to allow me to be here with you today. I'm sure, as you are all fashion experts or lovers, that you know the LVMH group. It's a group where we have 75 maisons from different universes, so of course from fashion, but also beyond, cosmetic, watch and jewelry, wines and spirits, and more. The very particularity of all of these maisons is that they have something in common, which is creativity and innovation, even though they all have their own heritage and history. So Before I start, I would like to tell you something. When I've seen that the topics was about the future is now, it really resonated with our daily challenge at LVMH. Some of the maisons from the group are very old, and they are some of them hundreds of years old. So there is a particular responsibility for us every day to have the great balance between cherishing the story, the history, the DNA and the heritage, but at the same time embracing the future, innovating to stay ahead. So what I will try to share with you today is how we manage this, how we deal with it, and we have a particular way to work with startups that I will try to share with you so that you understand a little bit the way we work. Because I like to have very concrete examples, maybe let's go back in time. Let's go back on March 16, 2020. It's a date that many people do remember, at least in Europe and in France, because it was a day of the lockdown, where the boutiques were closed, where the salespeople were home. And of course, it was a big challenge because we wanted to continue to do business and we needed to innovate like we never had before. The lucky thing was that we are used to prepare a solution to be ready when we need to innovate. Because we do work with different startups that we accelerate, and we had some solution in mind. So again, March 16 shutdown, March 20, we do organize a big digital meeting with many people from the group sharing the same kind of difficulties. And we presented 3 solutions. One of them was Replica. Replica is a startup that is a magic solution to that because it transforms anybody into a social seller. Of course, when your salespeople are home, with this solution, you have the possibility to have anybody becoming a social seller while building on your brand. So you imagine that on March 20, many maisons did decide to work with Replica, but also with the 2 other startups. We had collaboration between Sephora and Replica, and that's one example of collaboration with startup and the maison that we do very regularly. So no more salespeople, you have Replica. No more travel, you have iStaging that did a collaboration with Louis Vuitton that work on a 3D and virtual experience so that you can go inside the boutique. And you also have some other solution, for instance, in perfume and cosmetics with Bamboozer, another startup that allow us to do some live shopping. So all of these are collaboration between startup and maison of the group that allow us to go one step beyond. So now that you get the way we work, it's maybe interesting for you that you understand how we do it, what is the backstage, how we build this ecosystem. So of course, at first, we have to source the best startups. One way we do it is through the Innovation Award. So maybe you heard about it. Innovation Award is a challenge. It's a call for startups that we do. We actually give a prize during the Vivatech event in June in Paris. This great tech event where you have many tech solutions, startups, and more. For this Innovation Award, usually we receive every year around 1,000 startups who ask to be part of it. We select the best one for the group. So what we look at, of course, is maybe the level of maturity, because we need to have a certain level of maturity so that they can work with luxury brands. And we also look, of course, for topics that makes sense for the group. So we have some strategic topic that can be sustainability, for instance, but you have solution with data and artificial intelligence that can help on employee experience, media and brand awareness, operational excellence, customer experience. So we have all these topics, also maybe social innovation that is very important. And that's on these types of topics that we look for startups. Once we have selected these great, what we call in French, crème of the crème startups, we do accelerate them. So we have in Station F, maybe you heard about it, the biggest accelerator of startup in Europe. So we have a space there where we have 25 startups who come for 6 months. And during these 6 months, we make them learn about what is luxury, how to navigate inside the ecosystem of the LVMH group. And we try to maximize the conversation between the maison and the startup. And of course, when you have a startup and a maison talking together and having a conversation, then you have innovation, then you have collaboration, and that's how it works. When we look at the results, since the opening, we have signed more than 230 collaborations between the startups and the maison, which shows that it works. It works in Europe, but it also works in Asia, it works in the US, and all around the world. I think also what matters in this evolution of the ecosystem is that we are really living a cultural transformation. And this is what we are witnessing the last few months, is the fact that start-upers and maison of LVMH, they now speak the same language, the language of creativity, agility, and innovation. Something else, because I'm talking about startups. And you know, very often people say startups is a small company. So it's always very cool to be a startup, but what is better is to be bigger, and even though some unicorn, you call them startups, what actually matters is the startup spirit and not only just a startup as it is. And this is how we have decided to create what we call DARE. It's an intrapreneurship program at the group level to cultivate the startup spirit, so that every talent of the group can innovate every day. So in this ecosystem, we allow anybody to propose an innovative solution so that everybody can be part of the future and everybody can build the future of luxury. So I think that's what I wanted to tell you. If you have one thing to remember, is that everybody can dare to transform the luxury world, to transform fashion. So let's dare now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Letitia, for sharing LVMH lavish experience on how startups and LVMH innovate and construct the future of luxury. And now, ladies and gentlemen, a very interesting topic will be discussed by our special guest in New York, Adina Mizrahi, founder of Adina's Jewels. It's great having you with us today at day one of Fashion Futures. And we can't wait to hear from you on how the power of networking can be the key to your business success. I pass the mic to you, Adina.
Hi guys, I'm Adina Kamkachi and I'm the creative founder and director of Adina's Jewels. And I was asked to speak today about the in business through social networking and how important it can be. But before I start, I wanted to say thank you so much. A special thank you to Her Highness Princess Nora and to Barak Kakmak for having me on here. I also wanted to say thank you to everyone who's watching and tuning in. It's a true honor. But to really start off, I started Adina's Jewels, which is my company. I sell fashion and fine jewelry at two very different extreme ends at price points. I started Adina's when I was about 18 and a half years old. I was going into my third semester of college, more specifically Brooklyn College in New York. And I was at a loss for what I wanted to do. And I wasn't sure if I wanted to work for someone or if I wanted to be an entrepreneur. that always stuck with me was my parents, who are both immigrants and who happen to be from the Middle East, continued to kind of push down on me that being an entrepreneur was extremely important. They came into this country with very little prospects of what they were going to do, but all they knew was that they wanted a better future. And they always told me, sign your own check, be your own boss, because there is nothing greater than having your own company. And I took that with me, and I decided that I wanted to definitely open up my own business. I wasn't sure of what. And when I thought about what I really loved, and this is something that I always tell students or anyone who really asks me, how is it that I knew what to go into, what business to choose, what industry to pursue? I always say you have to love it. It has to be something that you're absolutely passionate about and that you can't go a day without. And for me, that was jewelry. I love jewelry. It made me feel confident. It made me feel special. And it made me feel like a true classy woman. And that was why I decided that I was going to make my own jewelry and go into this prospective field. And so as I went to the Diamond District in New York with my mom, because I was still 18 at the time, she kind of helped me out, helped me pick out beads and strings. And then I went on to learn how to make everything and how to make the jewelry and how to make it to my liking. And before I knew it, orders were coming in. But I first started getting those orders because of Instagram. So yes, word of mouth was incredible and it did go a long way. However, when I started to post my pieces on Instagram, when I started to layer and put sets on, that was when I saw so many people interacting with my page and loving my jewelry. And that's what gave me the confidence that I needed. And once that happened, once Instagram continued to grow, once, you know, the social life on Instagram really expanded through direct messaging and things that it did not have prior, stories, etc., I started to really see a very big difference because people were not just calling me up and texting me, which they did do that, but they started to direct message my account on Instagram. And it gave me a great way to start to communicate with a virtual one who was on Instagram. And it didn't matter if they had 5,000 followers or 20 followers or 5 million followers. By a simple message, I was able to reach out to them, offer them my product, and see if they were willing to, in exchange, give me a service by posting about it, by storying it, by explaining it to their followers, sometimes merely commenting it in their caption, saying, I'm wearing this necklace by Adina's Jewels. And as I started to do that, I started to see a crazy growth on my Instagram. And I was basically reaching out every single day. And Instagram has a limit on how many people you can reach out to, but I would reach out until this pop-up would come up and say, you've reached the maximum people you can direct message today. And I said, okay, I'll come back tomorrow. I'll wait a couple of hours and I'll come back. And it was so incredible to see the reaction that I got, which I did not expect because I was so small at the time. I had just a few thousand followers, and I was a 19, 20-year-old kid living out in Brooklyn from my parents' home, working out of their basement, and still in college nonetheless. And to see how people just were drawn to me and drawn to the business. And, you know, a lot of people say, you know, if I reach out to someone who's big, they're not going to reach back out. But you actually never know, because sometimes they do respond. And sometimes you catch them on an off day where they're just looking to get a gorgeous text or DM from somebody, and that person happens to be you. You know, just by saying, hey, I love your style, I love what you do, I appreciate you, and I would love to send you a piece of jewelry from me as a gift just because of how much I look up to you. Boom, that's all you need. And I've seen that traction go so far. People responded. And at the time, they were small. They weren't as big as they are today. But today, 6 years later, I've maintained that relationship with them by reaching out, following them and see what they're up to in life. Always, going back and sending them a piece of jewelry. I mean, the holiday seasons are around the corner. I have a roster of so many of the girls that I know who were my age when they started their Instagram beauty accounts, and today are just as big as I am, if not bigger. And we have such a great personal relationship. I don't even talk to them on Instagram anymore. We talk on the phone, or we text, or we meet up there in New York. And to me, always reaching out and going out there and putting yourself out there is so important, because social networking is the absolute greatest thing that we have nowadays. We have TikTok, we have Instagram, we have Twitter, we have so many different facets, sometimes even LinkedIn. We have so many different facets to reach out to people who really you'd never be able to reach out to, because you're not going to find them on the street. These are people that it's really hard for you to get lucky that one time and find them in a restaurant. And even then, you don't want to reach out to them and bother them. So to me, I took social networking to the next level. I never said no to an influencer. I never said no to an opportunity. And at times I was like, oh my gosh, I am burning out. But the truth of the matter is, the more I look back on it, I am so grateful that I pushed myself and that I had my family push me, which is extremely important, the people that you surround yourself with. If it was not for them, I wouldn't be sending a Christmas gift to 300, 400 top of the line influencers on Instagram. I wouldn't have been able to reach out to them. Today, the algorithm on Instagram has changed so much that it's really hard to connect. But if you push and you push and you build on those few really strong relationships that you have, growth and the reaction is so exponential. It's almost mind-boggling. It's something that you cannot fathom. And just opened up a store, our first brick and mortar in Soho in New York. And I invited all of these women and girls that I was, messaging and had a relationship throughout the years, and they all showed up. And to me, it was incredible to see that finally we're back in a space where we can see each other again in a but they all came and they brought their friends and they brought other influencers and they took content. And in the actual event, I social networked even more in person and taking their numbers and taking photos and pictures. And to me, it showed me the power of social networking, because you can go from being an online business for 6 years and opening a store in a very volatile time, but still having people show up, be there for you, care for you. And when they have their projects and they reach out to me, I'm there to give them advice. I'm there to show them the opportunities that they have. I'm there to post about it and to show them that they're doing the right thing. So if I can end off by saying one thing, it's social networking is so strong nowadays, and it is so important, and you ought to take advantage of Instagram and of TikTok, because it can make your business go from here to here. I just want to say a final thank you to all of you guys for watching. You enjoyed, and if any of you ever have any questions, feel free to reach out to me on my Instagram, or you can personally, which is also on my Instagram. I'm always here, and I love to give my advice. Thank you again for so much for this opportunity. I really appreciate it. Much love.
Thank you, Adina Mizrahi. I'm sure there are a lot of takeaways from your greatly informative speech. Our esteemed guests, it's time for the first fireside chat of day one of Fashion Futures about a very interesting topic, embracing technology and turning it into a business, between Frank Delpal, professor at the Institut Français de la Mode, and Pierre-Nicolas Ursel, co-founder and CEO of Ariani. Bienvenue. The mic to you, Frank.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Paris. So we'll be having a session dedicated to the links between technology and fashion. So I have the chance to welcome Pierre-Nicolas Ursel, which is the co-founder and CEO of Ariani. We'll be talking about many topics regarding technology. But first, I would like to ask you, Pierre-Nicolas, I have the feeling that we are in a period where we've never been talking of technology as much as today. There are really an amazing amount of exciting projects that are happening. What is your vision on this relationship, and what do you think about the potential impact that technology can have on a fashion business today?
Hi, Frank. Thanks for having me. Hello, everyone online. Technology is going to change everything. The fashion supply chain goes from, we could say, the yarn to the final consumer. You know, from the upstream, building, designing products, manufacturing them, then distributing them, then using them, giving them a first life, maybe a second life. Technology can play an incredible role at every step of the way. And the innovation and the good use of technology at each step of the way is going to allow brands and creators to build what I would say would be successful, sustainable businesses by implementing technology in the way we design, by implementing technology in the way we create materials, then in the way we manufacture and how much we manufacture and how on demand we manufacture, and then distributing these products more directly with less impact and allowing clients to be able to, for example, resell them easily. Well, all of this is allowed by technology. All of this is creating a more sustainable, but also a better business.
And today, of course, there are many possibilities, as you mentioned, and the impact is clear on the environmental issues, also on the economic efficiency of companies. I propose to focus maybe on one topic for this session, which is the Web3, so the third generation of the internet that is blooming everywhere in our industry. Could you start telling us about the key concept that compose this notion of Web3, and regarding fashion and the fashion industry, what could be the first translation of Web3 in fashion?
Okay, so Web 1 was read, okay? I access content, I read it. Web 2, read and contribute. Web 3, read, contribute, own. So for creative and fashion and luxury industries, the opportunity is huge because we can now do online what we can do offline, owning scarce, original things, okay? And by owning, look, I have this jacket, I can wear it here, I can wear it in a restaurant, I can go from one environment to another in real life with the same jacket. It is not enclosed in this building. Online, until Web 3, everything we would be doing would be closed within the doors of the service where we have an account. Now, thanks to wallets and tokens, we're going to be able to travel from a service to an environment, to a platform, to an e-commerce, to a metaverse, and take with us our digital belongings. And these digital belongings will be art, digital goods, representations of physical goods, digital twins, concert tickets, loyalty cards, personal data. All of this, we're going to take it with us. We're going to gain back control on what we do online, gain back control on our personal data that has been overly used and abused by centralized systems. And this is going to unlock amazing opportunities for fashion brands, for example, the possibility to give life online to a physical product with a digital twin, the possibility to sell purely digital goods that are uniquely available online and that will help people build their self-expression in digital environments, to tokens that will represent belonging, attendance, participation, engagement. And so all these combinations of digital things will be owned by people. Brands and creators will have a very new way to interact and communicate with these people with new tools, new CRM, where you address a wallet depending on what's inside, a new community management platform where you gather people around the tokens they have. These tokens can be valuable, but not necessarily. It can just be the proof of participation to an event or a program. And this entirely new infrastructure of communication and marketing is going to rebuild for brands and creators a kind of a new renaissance in which they take back control. They are free. They will be free from the big tech giants that have intermediated all our online life. And I think this is the main thing I would like people to understand. This is the liberation of the internet towards decentralization, and every step we make in this direction will give more control back and more power back to consumers and to brands.
So metaverse, NFTs are among the buzzwords of today. To show to the audience that we are not talking about science fiction, could you give us examples of what you do at Ariani, for instance, with brands on very practical use cases in which NFTs and this technology help to deliver new services to the client?
Okay. First, we are already in the metaverse. We spend 80% of our day behind the screen. We're on Zoom, we're here on a digital conference, we are on social medias. We are online already. Let's not think about the metaverse as something that is where we'll all be avatars in some kind of huge game, the Ready Player One story, you know, that might happen somehow, but we already have a digital life. 3 use cases. You buy a valuable good, a watch, a Breitling watch, for example, and you're going to be given, on top of the watch, an NFT that is the twin of the watch. Mm-hmm. They come together. They have a link that is impossible to break. They live together. The digital twin is going to tell you the story of your watch, and it's going to tell the story of your watch to the person you will give it to or sell it to at some point. So it is a way to augment, to give more value for the owner. Another example is what we did with Paris Fashion Week, where accredited journalists received their accreditation in the form of an NFT. Inside this NFT, it was packed with art and value, a unique illustration that they could experience in augmented reality everywhere in Paris, the digitization of their accreditation card, and the possibility for them, in one click, to generate a proof that they own this NFT that would give them access, for example, to the Paris Fashion Week center. Last example, the homage to Albert Elbaz that we've done with AZ Factory. On top of all the looks on the runway, we've created a purely 100% digital look with the AZ Factory team studio. And this digital look, we created 1,200 NFTs that were distributed only to the people attending the show as a souvenir and as a message linking tradition and modernity, which was really the motto of Albert Elbaz. So looking at these 3 examples, you have the 3 main possibilities for fashion, luxury, culture around NFTs. Digital twin for a physical good. Proof of belonging and participation, loyalty and engagement token, and pure digital good that lives only on the internet and that can be experienced either as a filter, as an augmented reality experience, or worn maybe on an avatar in a metaverse, which will happen, but let's say that the infrastructure is not completely ready for that.
Okay. What I found very interesting in what you say is that these technologies help us to question notions that are very important in fashion, ownership, scarcity, etc. So it's a new way to project also and to have a vision of the future of the sector. That's,
Yes, absolutely. And it's also a great moment, I think, to question ourselves and the world we want to live in, the kind of role a fashion brand and luxury brand and accessories brand are playing in transforming the world towards a more inclusive, respectful place. And I think, this whole metaverse and ownership and scarcity opportunity online should be taken in the same line as everything that has been done recently and all this move towards a more inclusive and respectful industry. Let's be careful not to replicate errors of the past in the physical world, in the digital world. Let's be careful with the mental health of people and the way they interact with fashion and luxury and image. I think if we're able to do that and apply good values, sense of human purpose to the digital world, there's an opportunity to do something really exciting for customers and also to solve some of the problems we've seen in the physical world.
So the topic of our session is also how to turn technology into a project. So now I'm talking to you as an entrepreneur. Can you first tell us about Irony, when it was created? How many employees do you have today? And what are the developments you are facing?
Yeah, we started 3-4 years ago when all of this was mystery for a lot of people. We started by building an open source layer, accessible to everyone, documented, anyone can build on it. We created an association, which is, let's say, an off-chain DAO. Now we're talking about decentralized autonomous organizations. We created this decentralized autonomous organization under the form of an 1901 law association at this time, very traditional. And so we gathered fashion and luxury brands to become members of this association to build this technology with us. Now we're 25. We've raised an interesting round with great investors, business angels, BPI France, Isaïe, etc., to help us accelerate our growth. So that's about the company. And how to turn this into a reality, I would say start. Start with the smallest project, the beginning of a capsule. Be careful to start. Be careful not to overvalue what you expect in PR over what you expect in learning and creating foundation for the future. And don't be afraid, because NFTs, wallets are standards. So we propose a great way to use them, but an NFT is an NFT. It's an ERC 721. They're all the same. They can be enriched. We can do many, many things with them. But if you do something today, and you put a wallet in the hand of one of your customers, and you put an NFT in it, this is the beginning of your story with this, and the level of interoperability with this technology will create a situation where nothing will be thrown away. You will build on top, increase your park, grow your community around that. And so the smallest thing that you try today will never be a kind of a proof of concept that will be lost when you have to rebuild. And that's something very cool and very new. Because with technology, we used to be used to have a first try, and then you throw it away, and then you build. Here, everything you do is going to create the story, and you'll be able to build on top. So don't be shy. Be careful not to overvalue PR, and take the opportunity, because every step of the way is building your story in the Web3.
And what about working with the fashion sector? You have some specificities, the importance of image, of immaterial assets. How can tech profiles, entrepreneurs, innovators understand these specificities? What would be the advice you would give them when knocking on the door of LVMH, Kering, or other groups working in our industry?
So this industry is a very interesting mix and blend of tradition and modernity. Tradition takes time, it's long, it matures, and modernity is daring, is creative, it's original. And sometimes when technology comes into play, one or the other of the aspects can take the lead in the conversation. So you have to understand the traditional part. You have to understand that these maisons have built what they are on savoir-faire, on an incredible relationship to time and talent and know-how. And so you have to respect this time, and you have to bet on the daring and super creative aspect of the people who work there. And so if you can find a good balance, there's a way to bring technology very strongly in these organizations.
Perfect. We need to conclude. So thank you very much, Pierre-Nicolas, for these sessions. I'm sure a lot of people learn many things on these beautiful bridges that are emerging between fashion, luxury, and technology.
Thank you, Frank.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Merci à tous, Frank Delpal and Pierre-Nicolas Ursel, for an interesting talk about the most constructive ways technology is transforming the business today. Ladies and gentlemen, our next panel discussion focusing on how fashion is working towards a livable and accessible future, opportunities and challenges. To start this session, it's my pleasure to welcome the moderator of the session from New York, Evie Evangelo, President and founder of Fashion for Development. Hello and welcome, Evie. The mic to you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Evie Evangelo, President and founder of Fashion for Development. I'm here with three distinguished panelists, one who is joining us from Paris today, Remy Baum, CEO of Zantique and Voltaire, Ruth de Golia, on this side of me, founder and executive director of Mercado Global, and Mindy Shire, who's the CEO and founder of Runway of Dreams, and also Runway of Dreams Foundation and the Gamut Management. We are here today to discuss fashion and how it's working towards a livable and more inclusive future. And I just want to thank the organizers of Fashion Futures for giving us this opportunity today. Now I would like to ask each of our panelists to briefly introduce themselves, and I'll start with Ruth.
Thank you so much, Evie. My name is Ruth Alvarez de Golia, and I'm executive director and founder of Mercado Global. We work with indigenous women in rural Central America, in a region where many of the women we work with are living in situations of extreme poverty and are being hit by the impacts of climate change in the region. And we help them become some of the best rural entrepreneurs in the world by connecting them to major international retailers such as Nordstrom, Bloomingdale's, Shopbop, Levi Strauss, and helping them sell their products internationally so that they have the income they need to send their kids to school and provide a better future for their families. So it's a pleasure to be here today. Thank you so much.
Mindy?
Thank you so much. It is really an honor to be here and certainly to be on a panel with such distinguished speakers. As an accessibility check-in, my name is Mindy Shire. I am a white woman with curly red hair. I am actually wearing a heart-patterned, amazing Zadig and Voltaire suit, and I'm about 50 years old, maybe. Again, I am the founder and CEO of Runway of Dreams and Gamut Management. I am a fashion designer by trade and also the mom of a child with a rare form of muscular dystrophy. And we learned early on that my son Oliver was going to struggle with everyday tasks, one of which is the very thing that I love more than anything, and that's getting dressed every day. For him, it was a daily reminder of what he could not do, which are buttons and zippers and putting pants over his leg braces. So in 2013, I decided to take my background and have a small goal of changing the fashion industry to be inclusive of people with disabilities. After a year's worth of research, I was able to develop modifications that could be implemented into mainstream clothing to make it more wearable for the largest population on our planet, the largest minority, which are people with disabilities, as 1.3 billion people identify as having a disability. So we as an industry can absolutely do better in including this huge minority. So through Runway of Dreams, we partnered with Tommy Hilfiger in 2016 and made fashion history by developing the first ever mainstream adaptive clothing line, which is now Tommy Adaptive. What that opportunity did was open the doors for many other mainstream brands to understand that inclusion is not an initiative, it's a business opportunity. So in 2019, I launched Gamut Management as the first of its kind consulting company and talent management company exclusively for people with disabilities, so that we can help the fashion industry adapt and get involved in the adaptive space through product and services. Again, thank you so much, and it is really wonderful to be here.
Thank you, Mindy. And now off to Paris. And here is Remy Baum. Remy, could you please give us a few lines and words about yourself and briefly describe what you do?
Sure, Evie. Absolutely. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm Remy Baum, the CEO of Zadig & Voltaire. I'm really glad to be part of this great session. I arrived at the head of this great brand 2 years ago, and a part of my work is indeed to magnify a little bit what was done naturally in terms of sustainability work, inclusion work, that was not done naturally with a lot of common sense into better structured programs so that we can really go up to the end of this long journey in terms of becoming altogether more sustainable, more inclusive. So it's a great topic to be part in today.
Now, since we're talking with you, can we just stay on a question for you directly? In your opinion, you've worked with multiple large brands. What do you think at this point are the main limitations that the circular economy movement is facing today, and how can we address that?
It is true that today we are all, I think the point of the awareness, at least to my experience and when I talk to all my colleagues and people in the fashion and luxury industry, this point of awareness is, I believe, past. So we are all very, very aware of the work that we need to do, and in terms of leadership, this is a big task to be held. And it's true that quality is really, I believe, the most important thing. It touches directly the circularity, because if quality is not there to begin with, first of all, the sustainability work within the chain is not up to par, but then it has a direct effect in terms of the leftovers that would be left in the world, especially when you deal with the circularity. So I believe that all of us, we really, really need to work on a better quality of the garment fabrics and the durability of the products. I will give you an example. Cashmere fabric is very much a fabric that has been at the very beginning of the success of Zadig & Voltaire brand. You can be between an order of magnitude of 1 to 5 in terms of the quality of the fibers. And it's, at the end of the day, still cashmere. But if you don't use the right fibers, then the cashmere will not last. And so you end up with leftover issues within the planet. Using a long fiber will have your cashmere last for a very, very long time, and hence will enable circularity to be virtuous. So I believe that when we brand deal with the circularity question, the first real question that lies to us is the quality of what we bring to the market. And if that's not up to par, then we create an even bigger issue down the line.
I know that Zadig & Voltaire is an amazing collection. It's luxury at a midpoint, I would say. Am I correct? And I'm just wondering, how do you feel? I mean, I have been preaching and saying, buy less, buy better, in the sense, so better quality, which is exactly what you're saying. I think consumption, if we can start controlling consumption a bit, that would be helpful as well. Do you agree?
I agree. We also work on the desirability of our products, and we create aspiration for the world that the brand and the universe and the symphony that the brand is singing to the market. So we create this desire, and we need to have viable and sustainable business models that make growth being sustainable. So, of course, we, in a way, want to sell more, but it needs to be a better product onto the market. If that conjunction of quality and growth is not met, then there is a big dead end and a big issue. So I think the equation to have growth is really sustainable growth. Of course, today it's, I think, a known word. It's something that is accepted in the mindset of all the leaders of fashion and luxury. And then it poses the challenge of going backwards in a way that was not necessarily done in the past, backwards to what we grow, the raw materials we use, the energy and the green energy that are used in our factories, and very often with third parties, I mean, our suppliers that we know very, very well, but that we need to get more intimate to make sure that the process is absolutely perfect, so that A, the quality of the product is always more enhanced, and B, that the process of the supply chain is very, very sustainable. And on that, at least internally at Zadig & Voltaire, we are only targeting the 100% of what we do. So if we want to go to a certain stage, being partial is not enough. We need to be 100% using green and certifiable raw materials. We need to 100% use green energies. We need to go up to the 100%, and that's the only acceptable stage. So I think it's going to take a little bit of time. But that's, for the leaders of today, that's really the challenge.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Remy. Now, Ruth, I have a question for you. There's a debate going on about thrift shopping, which is still shopping, of course. So is this something that you feel is delaying the product to end up in the landfill? Is it something that you think is going to help? And how does that work within the sustainability space that we're all trying here to put forth?
I think thrift shopping is one key tool that consumers have to increase the sustainability of our economy and of our society. But I think it's just one tool, and that we need to look beyond that. And I just wanted to call out something that Mindy said. You know, she pointed out that when you're talking about designing in an inclusive way, that it's really about a missed business opportunity for fashion retailers. And I couldn't agree more. I think the same goes for sustainability. And to give you an example, with our retail partners, in addition to tracking sell-throughs, one of our retail partners, Stitch Fix, developed an indicator that they call their love factor to track how much that brand or that product increases the consumer's love for Stitch Fix. And actually, our collection has the highest rating of the love factor in terms of increasing brand loyalty for their consumers. So I bring that up because I think there's no question that consumers are demanding sustainable products. And it's about designing new systems, new models to really capture that opportunity. I think Levi Strauss is an example that's looking at how to use thrifting and recycling of past materials as a way to increase sustainability. I think it's also about looking at supply chains. So some of our retail partners, we've set up partnerships where they literally send us their dead stock materials to use and design into our collections instead of sending it to the landfill. And then we have retail partners that really invest in how they tell the message of social impact behind their collections with us and other collections that are sustainable to end consumers. And sometimes it's really about designing new systems, new approaches to supply chains, new approaches to how you tell the story at a very basic level. Some of our big department store partners might not even have the systems in place to tell more of the story behind the product beyond basic functionality, to talk about the social impact. And it's such a small change, but it's something that's so important in terms of capturing this opportunity to increase sustainability and convey that to the end consumer. So I think both consumers and retailers need to look creatively at how to use this full set of tools to go after this market opportunity and to have a bigger impact on the environment.
This is all absolutely great. Of course, we have to look at all the tools. Yeah. But there are things that are happening, and I think maybe we're all still learning. So, for example, they're recycling plastics and bottles, and then they're making T-shirts. However, that T-shirt then is not degradable. So, so what happens then? Right. How do you deal with something
Absolutely.
like that?
Well, I think one of the fundamental issues is to look at buying quality and buying items that are going to last, and definitely moving away from buying fashion pieces that are only designed to last for a season. And I think, you know, the reality is, the goal, I think, is improvement first. It's hard to achieve perfection, but if we could start to minimize the waste of the fashion industry, if we could start to minimize the negative environmental impact of the fashion industry, we're starting to make big progress. And I think if we set the goal of perfection, then it's easy to give up before we even start. And we're missing the opportunity for some major impact and change. So I think what's realistic is for us to look at how can we get better.
So one step at a time.
One step at a time.
Okay, great. Mindy, from your experience in working with inclusion all these years, how can we as the fashion industry and the professionals within the fashion industry increase the awareness of this? And what do you suggest people do within our industry?
It's right now, I think it is such an incredible time to be in the fashion industry, as especially what we are doing through Gamut Management and Runway Dreams is human-centric. We are helping the industry understand that an enormous, enormous population is not being included into the usability of our product. And it marries so well to everything that we're talking about today with sustainability and innovation, as innovation plus fashion equals adaptive. So for a shirt that we are rethinking, how does it close? Here's a little fun fact, that the button and the buttonhole was developed in the 13th century. The fact that we are still using that technology in today's day and age is a little mind-blowing. So if we are rethinking the way that things are done through innovation, like utilizing a magnet or the next generation of Velcro, we are actually increasing the amount of consumers that can wear that same product. And that is something that is so important, you know, that can absolutely be involved in sustainability and really understanding the population, our consumers, and it is white space and a huge, huge business opportunity. So I would say what we can do as an industry is understand this population. And that is something that we really work on, especially through Gamut with our talent management of over 700 people around the world that have all different types of disabilities, ages, ethnicities, because there is no designer on the planet, myself included, that can design for this population without including this population into every step of the value chain. And that is something that we can do together as an industry to make sure that everybody can wear products that makes them feel good, that helps with confidence and identifying who they are to the world. I mean, it's very rare that in our industry, we can say that we are changing lives, and by inclusion, we are doing just that. We are changing the lives of billions of people on our planet, and to be honest, it is a minority that every single one of us is going to be a part of at some point in our life, whether that is a temporary surgery or just getting old. So don't we all want to be able to wear products and have dignity to present ourselves as who we want to be?
Yes, I agree. So perfect. Thank you, Mindy. We have a few minutes left, and if each of you could just take 2 minutes to talk about describing your thoughts on how sustainability, responsibility, ethics, and how they can all come together to create a winning formula for the planet and for humanity. Can we start with Remy?
Yeah, it's a great, great question, and I will bounce back on what Minnie just said. I think if we look back to the last decades of development of fashion and luxury, it has democratized a lot. And before that, maybe around the Second World War, it was something more elitist. And today it's really touching everyone. And I think the upside and the win-win approach is to just realize that indeed we absolutely need some more cultures embarked into what we are doing, because we are serving many more peoples that are interested in what we do. So what we've seen lately is maybe a little bit of a more classic industry open up to more popular trends like embracing streetwear, rap music, and art, etc. And I believe that creativity is really magnifying cultures with a sense of history. So that's why we need to embark also in-house. Those different populations include diversity, be indeed inclusive with many, many different profiles, because, and young people and young generations, because they are those who can really lead us to actually what the future of fashion can be. With their mindset, by the way, which is just native today of being sustainable. And just that way of being more diverse let us really be more in tune with actually a broader population. So the conjunction of rooting ourselves into the different cultures with people that live it in their bones, with a very native approach to what sustainability is, because that's their world, I think is the conjunction that can really have both improvement and enhancements on sustainability and diversity work together. So I think this session was very much about those two themes, and I think they just lie together.
That. I worked on Diversity is Beautiful with the United Nations during that theme, and culture and art are a big, big part of everything that we're doing. So I agree with you 100%. Ruth, same question.
Yeah, I think I would highlight two things to add on to what Remy said. First of all, one thing that gives me hope is that I think more and more consumers are realizing they have massive power, that people vote at the ballot box, but people also vote with their dollar. And I think as more, part of the solution here is more and more consumers waking up to that power. And that means that consumers have to take the time to get educated, to know what they're buying, to know who these brands are and how they source. And it's hard to get around that. So it's exciting that people are waking up to that. And I think that's a massive responsibility for consumers. But hand in hand with that is the responsibility of retailers and brands. And I think retailers have a responsibility to be transparent and to make it easier for consumers to understand what they're buying, to say no to greenwashing, to really have true, authentic transparency and be upfront about the challenges they have. The reality is it's hard to do everything right. Yeah. So highlight what you're doing well and be honest about what you're working on. And I think it's an opportunity for leadership among retailers and brands that from the top, there needs to be support for creative, innovative approaches to increasing sustainable sourcing, to increasing inclusivity in design, trying things outside of the box, because what we've done in the past isn't working.
Yeah. I agree. Mindy.
Thank you. I wholeheartedly agree with what everybody said. I think we just have to also keep reminding ourselves to be human-centric. This is where it all begins. This is why we do what we do for our people, our population, and really understanding who we are designing for and why we are doing it and how we are doing it. And the best way that we can do that is to always go back to the principle of being human-centric.
Thank you, Mindy. Well, I think we've had a great panel. Unless anyone would like to add something, I think we can close off now. And bye-bye from New York. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, Remy in Paris, and everyone in Riyadh. It was a pleasure bringing all of this together. And hope to see you again soon through another Fashion Futures event. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage our moderator, founder of the Global Fashion Exchange, Patrick Duffy, and our speaker, content creator, Nirvana Abdul.
Hi.
Hi.
We've been having so much fun
Yeah.
backstage. Everybody, this is Nirvana Abdul. Nirvana, it's such a pleasure to be with you.
Thank you so much.
You're such an incredible light. Nirvana is a stylist. She's a fashion expert. She's an influencer. She's a voice. She's a mother. She's many, many wonderful things. We're going to dive deep into it in the 19 minutes, so you better pay attention. Nirvana, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm well. Welcome to Fashion Futures.
Thank you so much. I'm very happy. There's something really new. I wasn't expecting to be this big. I'm so happy.
Oh, good, good, good. Let's dive right in. I want everybody to understand about your journey. So, you've been working in the fashion industry for a really long time. What was it, but not always focused on sustainability and not always focused on making a positive impact on the planet. Tell us a little bit about your journey and how you went from the before to now.
The shift that happened, I was on Instagram like any other girl. At the beginning, you just show the outfit of the day and things like that. And then you have this pressure that you always have to show something new. And then it went too far that you buy things that you don't need just to show people that you have something new, just for the likes and stuff, And a lot of people until now, they're still actually been doing this. The other day, I remember when it really happened, it was 2017. I was Googling like any other time, and then I found out about Rana Plaza. And I was really, really surprised. Like, is this even real? And then I talked to my husband, do you know about this? Like, what is this? And then all the pollution that is happening, the fast fashion and everything, all the details, I got addicted. I kept on reading and reading a lot. And the more you know, the more you feel like, oh my God, this is really happening. There is a bad thing happening. It's a crisis. And I think not many of people know about that. And I felt like, okay, I got this feeling that I don't want to share this because that you have to change a lot of your lifestyle. And then you have to shift your lifestyle. I wasn't even ready. And I felt like, oh my God, even if I want to share, what I'm going to say to my followers who followed me for the new things, not for the other things. I did that really gradually. It took me a time because I was trying to make sure when I want to make the change, I want to make it for myself first, slow and steady, and then I'm going to share it with other people. I did that. I started only by trying to buy less, and it was not easy at all. I was addicted. You have no idea. I was that bad consumer. I like to go shopping. Like it's what I do. Like, it's what I do to make me happy. If I'm sad, I go shopping. If I'm happy, I go shopping. Yeah. It's what I do. So it's like, this is one thing I'm going to change, is that I'm going to a mall, bring back home, didn't buy anything. Let's try this. I tried. It was very difficult at the beginning. Then it was happening. And when you know a lot of things, the more you change, the more you really aspire to change more and more and more. And when it happened, you can never go back. The more you know, you can never go back to what it used to be. So that's the time I felt, oh my God, this is the time I'm going to share this. And I was really, really scared because I know that I'm going to lose followers and the people who actually followed me for a certain thing. This is a shift in career. I didn't know what's going to happen.
And you work with many, sorry to interrupt, but you work with so many different fashion brands and so many different clients. What was that like? Because I like to equate it to almost like you break up with fast fashion or you break up with the fashion industry, or it's almost like unaddicting yourself from sugar. So you have all of the personal thing that you're going through, but your business and everything that you were doing with the fashion industry is all interconnected to that. What was that like going from that to where you're at now?
This is why my main concern, to be honest, as a blogger, is what you do is you work with brands. And I'm like, yes, I lost a lot of brands, but then I gained other brands who believe in what I believe. We find something in common. We work on that. And I felt like, oh my God, it's really great that, because everything you think, how bad is this going to be? It will never be bad. If you believe in what you're doing, it will always find the right time and the right place.
How are you now? So now we've gotten past that, and we can't unsee what you've already seen, and now you're making an impact in a mega wonderful way. I follow you. I love everything that you do. How are you implementing it into what you do for?
I'll tell you one thing. I feel like I studied the people in my social media accounts. I know them. I feel like they don't want to, you don't want to go and tell people, it's time for you to shift everything and change right at once. You do it now because the planet's burning, you cannot do that. You should, because the information is very heavy, to be honest. And it's facts, it's truth. But you don't want to scare people off. You just want to give them like step by step. So I give them like small acts and step. I made a series actually.
You have a series, which I'm actually addicted to your series.
The series it's very, it's really easy. Like,
Can you tell them what the series is about? It's like it's a series of your show. It's the name of it is where I don't know what it is.
The small acts.
Yes, it's small acts, but you talk about how you do one small thing to make a big impact.
Exactly. Yeah. There is a lot of things actually. The easier thing people can imagine you can do, it actually impacts a lot and can do a lot if a lot of people do it. I do believe in small acts and I implement it in my life. I teach my kids to do that because most of the things that I hear people say, do you think that you are going to change something? I do believe I am going to change something. If we work together, we all can change something. So it's all about that we work together. If we put your hands in my hands, we can do something.
Yeah. How are people responding? I mean, I know when we were first getting to know each other.
I have no idea.
Well, you have good, and I mean, I'm sure you have a lot of different.
Oh my gosh, it is.
Tell us what's going on.
It's according to the platform, you know. If you're
So
on
cute.
Instagram, you will find the people are more mature, you know. So if they don't like something, they'll just scroll up, they scroll down, they go away. But if you are on TikTok, I'll tell you, you'll never get away with anything. If they don't like something, they will kill you for it. So I get these comments, like, and sometimes it go crazy because it's thousands of comments that you cannot respond. And you don't want to respond, you just feel like the rush in your blood. You know? It's like, I'm not going to respond.
Yeah.
Think about something that you're going to tell them more. So not a lot of people will understand that, and not a lot of people believe in science. I believe in science, you believe in science. There are other people, I think all of these people believe in science. Other people, they don't. And if you tell them that there is this happening in our planet, and this is what is happening, everything about climate crisis, there is, you know that, there is a lot of people, they don't believe in that. So these type of people, they're giving me a hard time.
It's causing a lot of heart attacks, I know. I understand. Sometimes makes holidays a little bit difficult as well, right? But so you weave it into your work, which is absolutely fantastic. And people are responding. You know, I get a lot of that as well because I try to promote as many messages as possible about how to make a positive impact in the fashion industry or just in your own daily life. And I get a lot of, mixed feedback. And I think it's important to always stay calm and just try to...
And it's not easy to stay calm.
Yeah, it's not easy to stay calm.
Because I'll tell you why. Because people actually, they attack you personally for things, for information you try to deliver. You deliver information, then they attack your personal life, you know. So it's like, this is different things.
Are people, that's a good question, are people uptaking on the information that's being put out there? And like, we were talking before about how we kind of are in our own echo chamber about talking about this all the time, but then there's people who have no idea what's really happening out there. So how are people uptaking the information when you're giving it to them?
I really hope more influencers, more bloggers, more people talk about it. Because I know there is a lot of people who knows details about these things, but they don't share it. I'll tell you why they don't. Because they know that other people, they don't want to hear this kind of information. Because it's fact, it's truth, and people doesn't want to hear truth. The truth is that people doesn't want to hear truth.
Yeah.
So people
truth hurts, honey.
Facts. So I feel like more people should have the courage, to just tell the truth. You'll get like, bullets, but it's gonna be fine.
Yeah.
It's not gonna kill anyone. Just do it.
So have there been some challenges for you that you can share that you've overcome? And I know you work with so many different clients, but like, when you're talking to them about, we shared a little bit of a story with me today. We won't say who it was, but maybe you can share a little bit about the ethics of working with clients and what's that like in the conversations that happen with them. And we should be looking at this, or how does your supply chain work? Or maybe there's some, conversations that you're having with your clients that help them make steps forward. So you're making an impact, not just for the stories that you're sharing.
I remember the last time, actually, this happened like a few weeks ago. We were talking about the Black Friday, and I made a video about the Black Friday, telling people that, because I've been there, on Black Friday, we spend all our money in our Black Friday. And it's not good because we buy things we don't need.
Yeah.
And it happens a lot. And even my kids sometimes they do that. Mom, there is a Black Friday, we want to get these things. And then we have the conversation again, over again, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I talked to the brand, and this brand I used to work for years, and we really like each other, you know? We have the same ethics and stuff. And they're like, we have this Black Friday campaign, and it was the most difficult for me.
Really?
Just to think about the 4 lines saying no.
Yeah.
It's really challenging. I didn't know what to do. I'm like, I'm gonna tell them I don't want to work on this Black Friday thing. You know, what to say. You know, please don't leave me alone.
Yeah.
Don't hate me. And then it happened, and I was really surprised at the way they respect, you know, the decision. And oh my God, I felt like at the moment I felt so proud because these 4 lines took me a lot of energy. You know, I was like trying. What do I say? But it happened, and I'm so happy. And I think a lot of people should have that courage.
That's a power.
Courage. It's like you step out of your comfort zone. And, you know, the blood pressure and the heartbeat and everything that is happening at that moment. And then what's happening after that, when you actually feel like, oh my God, I did something, and you feel that.
Yeah, that's a really brave thing. I commend you for that. It's really, no, it really is. It's powerful because, you know, when your livelihood is connected to a decision like that, you say, it's very difficult to say, well, I believe in this, but I need that because I have a family, I have kids, I have a house, I have a mortgage, or whatever you have. So,
you just said it, I believe in this and I need it.
Yeah, and so like, you know, living by your ethics is not always easy.
It's not always easy.
Yeah, so congratulations. That's a really powerful thing. And they responded.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they responded. That's great.
Yeah,
so your bravery had a really positive impact. But let me ask you about your kids. Because kids...
Oh my God, you have no idea. I wish they come to this panel with us.
You're
My
hilarious.
kids know a lot.
What's that? Your kids know a lot?
They know a lot.
All kids know a lot.
And they criticize a lot because they know a lot. And sometimes I feel like they come to me, you know? Because sometimes you say things, and if you don't think about, you know, they notice everything you do.
They do.
And it's exactly like you are the role model. You teach them, you lead the way. And they're like, they actually teach their friends the thing I tell them to do. And I feel so proud of them. They know a lot compared to any other kids. And I'm like, let's talk to our family members, you know, the other kids in our family. Let's talk to them and tell them. But I feel like there is still resistance because if you tell your kid, getting a lot of toys, like we don't want to waste a lot. Yeah. Let's get 1 toy this time. And it's good for the pocket too. And they're like, okay. They could actually understand why would we do such a thing.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So you're influencing your kids. That's great.
They know a lot. They know a lot about polyester. They know a lot about the bamboo fabric.
What?
I swear, they know a lot. You have no idea.
That is incredible.
They check the clothes. I actually told them, before you buy anything, you check what is the fabric there. What do you want? Yeah, this is something I really, because they're very small, and when I see it, like you know, with their little hands, and they're like, I cannot find the fabric, you know what?
Yeah.
It's like.
So my question is, I wanted to ask you, so what do they think about the work that you do within the fashion? I mean, I'm not sure how much you share with them, but they must be super proud, and they must be, because if they're taking it on and
they're very proud, but I'll tell you, they're very young to be proud is that, oh, there is something she's doing for the planet. No, they're very proud because their mom is out there, you know, having big, beautiful pictures. This is what I think about. Oh my God. It's like, it's early for them to understand we are doing something for the future, you know, like for them.
Yeah.
We are doing things for our future and mainly for them.
That's so right.
Yeah.
So speaking about the future, I want to know about what your lens is for the future. I mean, I know you're passionate about so many things, material, where things come from, waste, human rights. I know you've got all of those things that you talk about all the time. But where do you want to see the future going with the work that you do? You do such unbelievable work in the storytelling, in the communities, in the series, in the communities that you work with and all that. So where do you want to see that going?
I do have different feelings towards the future, to be honest with you. I will tell you that, oh my God, like I imagine like a bright future that's amazing, it's all green. I don't know. I have a mixed emotion towards it until now because we learn a lot, we read a lot, and then you have this anxiety, and you don't know anything is going to change or not. I still don't know. All my hoping for the future is to be, I'll tell you, like present like my mom's present, I would say, because it was good. I wouldn't complain to be any more than that. It was at like 70s, 60s, I think it was good. Because I don't think, even if we have like a brighter future, like how bright it is going to be. I still don't know. I really don't know. I still have this mixed emotion. I cannot decide.
Yeah, that's okay. Well, I think there's something called climate anxiety. I'm not sure if anybody's ever heard of climate anxiety before. Have it.
Climate anxiety.
I had anxiety already, and now I have climate anxiety.
We cannot close our eyes.
But the thing is that there's how I try to, help manage my climate anxiety. I don't know how I got to this part of this conversation, but it's through the people in the community that we build. So with the clothing swaps that I do.
Yeah. Oh my God, I'm so excited. Thank you for that.
I'm so excited.
So excited.
We'll get to that in a quick second because
I didn't see this coming at this time. I'm really so proud.
I'm so excited. But to say, so I built community around me with people that really believe in the same things that I do. And it sounds like you do the same thing too with your kids, with your community, with your online community and your friends around you. So I love that. So, but the swap.
The swap,
What?
exactly.
So
Remember when I told you a few days ago that I think swapping is the elite sustainability? Because there's nothing, there's no money into it, It's just clothes for clothes.
I love
It's
that
like-
you called swapping the elite of
The
sustainability.
elite of sustainability. Please, I said that.
Everybody credit her if it ever comes up in conversation. But so let's just ask. I mean, this is such a simple act. Like one of your
It
series.
is a simple
It's like one of your
act.
series.
Yeah,
A simple act that you can do every day.
Exactly, yeah.
So is this something that, have you ever done this before? Have you ever swapped before?
I have done it a lot with family members.
Okay.
But never this big. Like, this is the actual impact, you know what I mean? There's a lot of people who know about it. I'm so happy. I also brought some of my clothes. I'm happily swapping today.
What did you? What did you bring? Can you tell?
I did so many beautiful pieces.
What did you? I'm so excited. But let's go back to
Yeah.
so like
I'll
you
show
swapped.
you.
What's that?
I'll show you.
Okay, just show me later.
Yeah.
I want to have the private look. But swapping is a very simple thing that you can do. Do you think that people will want to do it? Do you think that people here will subscribe to it? Like, ask your kids. Have you talked to your kids about it?
Yeah. I'll tell you. I have done like a small event like 2 weeks ago, and I was really surprised. I thought that nobody's gonna come. It was, like buying and selling pre-loved pieces, and it's not this much popular here. And I was like, oh my God, like nobody's gonna come. And I kept like making videos for people, just convincing them, guys, these are pre-loved pieces, and they are very special. You have no idea. And I kept trying to, convince them. But I was really surprised. Yeah, people came.
Oh, great.
And bought, and they loved it. There were people like shuffling in the clothes. And I was like, oh my God, it's happening.
Oh my gosh, really?
Yeah.
There's hope. I'm so excited.
That's why when you ask about the swapping, I think more people are gonna do it. We just need to, we give them more time, and we raise more awareness, and I think it's gonna happen.
I think so
It's
too.
happening, yeah.
I think, well, if Nirvana says, it's going to happen, guys. So, right? So what are, what? It's happening.
It's happening.
Opportunities. That's mine. I get to claim the credit. Okay. By the way, don't forget to sign up on the Ticket Mix link site, guys. Okay? Do that right now. Thank you. Back to us, Nirvana.
We're totally out here.
Back to us. They're not even here. So what is the biggest challenge about communicating about sustainability? Because there's so much. Like, for me, my focus is really about, I talk about what happens to things at the end of their life. So for you, when you're dealing with the many brands that you do or the many clients that you do, like what are the nuances that are around that, and how do you communicate? What are some of the things that you're talking about?
I mostly talk about, consumer behavior. And I think it's the most important thing, because you can buy secondhand, and you buy a lot of secondhand.
Yeah.
You can swap, and you swap a lot. So it's all about your behavior. You change your behavior, everything else would change. So it's all about, let's choose a piece that we will wear a lot, you know, a piece that is easy to wear, easy to style, something that will stay in our wardrobe for a long time. So it's all about, this is the thing that I'm mostly dealing with and teaching people how to do it, because yes, I do have some crazy pieces, but I know for myself, because I love fashion, I do wear this a lot. I'm okay with that. And I can wear my clothes over and over and over again. And it's not easy.
Yeah.
To be a person on social media and you keep wearing the same clothes and showing people, like, they're gonna criticize you for that. And it was a challenge for people. Oh my God, we have seen these earrings so many times. And I'm like, okay, that's the point.
Mm-hmm. But what about, like, is it like dismantling culture? Like when you, because, you know, we're so used to that. There's something called hauling, where you go and you buy stuff specifically just to put on your Instagram account, and then you throw it away, or you do
oh my
something
God,
with
I
it.
have done that in 2017.
That's where
that's a lot.
That's where you started, right?
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
where you started.
It's where the thing started. Yeah, please don't look at me like that. We all have done it at least once.
We all have something. Yeah, we all have something.
It's addictive.
Yeah.
And it's not easy. If you are on social media, you want to impress people. This is at the beginning, before you find yourself. You make your brand and you find yourself, you just want to impress people. And it's a lot of people do that. And at the beginning, it was so difficult for me, because I was buy things, I shoot them, I return them. And the other day I buy it, I shoot, I return. And it wasn't only me. That's a lot of bloggers do that. And then, because it was the way it go. You have to look cool all the time with the new things, you know, like outfit of the day, you know.
Well, now we can do a swap fit of the day. We can do a swap fit of the day together.
Now we can do it.
Yeah, I really like that red coat, Nirvana. Just kidding.
Where is the designer? I hope she's not here. She's going to kill me.
Oh my gosh, Nirvana, you're hilarious. I love you so much. Okay, everybody make sure that you follow Nirvana on Instagram right now. Okay, we only have 30 seconds left. What's one last thing that you want to share about making a positive impact?
Do your best. Do what you can, and don't let anything stop you. Just do what you can. The smallest thing you can do can make a big change.
I believe in that too. I think doing what you can actually can have a massive impact in the long term.
Exactly, exactly.
Nirvana, thank you so much. It has been so much fun sitting here, and I hope you guys enjoyed this conversation as much as I did. Thank you so much. So great.
Thank you, Patrick. Thank you, Nirvana, for a great talk and great vibes. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we come to the close of this productive day. It was indeed an engaging one, and I am sure you learned from the panel discussions and talks from our global, regional, and local speakers who are fashion experts and professionals. But don't forget, this event is open to all fashion enthusiasts from around the world. So you can participate and attend virtually. You just need to check out our social media channels for more details. And I look forward to having you all tomorrow. And a reminder to our Riyadh audience, alongside the Global Fashion Exchange Swap Shop, there is also the Saudi 100 Brands exhibition. Make sure to get your ticket soon on Ticket Mix because they're selling so fast. And I would encourage you to keep the enthusiasm and the momentum we have created here together for Day 2 of Fashion Futures 2021. Thank you all for your time and participation. You have my best regards. Thank you all.